What's up, fellas?
What's up, man? I haven't seen your guys' beautiful faces in a while.
Exactly. What's going on there, Rob?
Rob, you're muted.
Hey, so Train to Live podcast, fellas.
Herbie, did you unmute him?
We got a special guest on board tonight. It's Timmy Gleason. He's a veteran in the fire service. Hey, Rob, can you hear us? So, what we're gonna do with no further ado, I'm gonna let Greg give the intro of our man Timmy here, and we're gonna move forward while Rob's figuring out his audio. We apologize, guys, for this.
All right, so Timmy Gleason is I can't read this here, but he's 27 years at the City of Miami in the fire service. He's at Firehouse 6. He's been a technical rescue team for as long as I've heard. I've been hearing about him for many moons. He's the readiness coordinator on the FEMA team, Department of Homeland Security, Urban Search and Rescue, and arguably one of the best task forces in the country, Task Force 2. And he's a seasoned fireman, and seasoned firefighter. And what I do like about this guy is when you meet him, he comes off a little intimidating when you first meet him, but when you actually talk to him and you get to know this guy, he'll give you the shirt off his back. He covers a lot of things. Like I said, I don't like to get deep into what they're going to talk about because I feel like I won't give it its justice. But there's a couple programs that he's really, really close, near and dear to his heart, and the Never Walk Alone. I know that's a big one, and I'm sure we'll touch on that as well. But without any hesitation or any stalling, let's introduce him because I'm sure he's got quite a bit to say.
Timmy,
hey,
what's going
There
on,
he
buddy?
is.
How are you?
how's it going, guys?
Doing good, man.
Hey, if you guys don't mind, before we kind of get into things, I kind of need to make a statement as far as what I say on here. What I say and do on this show doesn't by any means represent the department I work for, which is the City of Miami Fire Department. These are my statements and my statements alone. So I just needed to get that out there and make that clear before we kind of moved on.
Hey, we as a matter of fact, it probably wouldn't hurt for all of us to have that.
Yeah.
True story.
True,
Just in case you slip up or something.
Yeah, you never know.
Hey, it's funny though, is we're doing your audio and you're all dialed in, and now Rob can't keep his dialed in.
I know, man. I threw a wrench. I threw a wrench in you guys big time tonight. I knew I was going to go down in flames with this thing tonight.
No way.
I told Rob that.
No, you're golden. Rob's the one that's mangling this thing up here.
Hey, Rob, how's it going?
Check. Can you guys hear me?
Perfect. I love it when it works out. Hey,
I don't
so
know what just happened there. I apologize.
I gave the intro for Timmy, and I know you had it all lined up, Rod, but I feel like I did a pretty good job on it. I did what I had to say. I gave the little intimidation factor when you first meet him, but then
I still don't understand that. I get told that all the time. I just don't get it.
Man, you're a big teddy bear once people get to know you.
I am, man. I'm a big softie. Well, I'm a little fat softie, but I'm a softie anyway.
Nonetheless.
Exactly. Well, I enjoy working with you and hanging out with you now that I got the butterflies out of the stomach. And I met you, and I'm like, this guy's a sweetheart. What are these guys saying?
I put you in charge of a squad like the first deployment you went on, man.
I know, man. You were really trying to give up your job, quickly. But I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was great. I learned a lot. I appreciate that.
Look at Lieutenant Walters.
What'd he say? What'd he say?
Right there at the bottom of the screen.
With a disclaimer, this ought to be good.
Oh, I can't see when the call-in guys. I can't see on my screen for some reason.
It's probably
awesome.
Super small. I can barely see it on mine too. Herb's gonna have to dial that up a notch.
Oh, okay. Now I can see it. I gotta move it. I'm not real good with this computer stuff.
All right, Rob, you're on. I think I did okay, man. But if you want to redo it, I get it, because we're live. And I got thrown to the wolves, but it's cool.
First and foremost, go ahead, Timmy.
Let me make one correction real quick. I'm 27 years in the fire service. 20 of those years are with the city of Miami. I worked with another department for a bunch of years, and a real small, great department on the west coast of Florida, the city of Immokalee. Those boys are a very busy fire department, and they don't have the manning or the equipment that they should have. That was probably some of the best years in my career. So I did 7 years with them, and I left there as a lieutenant in charge of the shift and in charge of 2 firehouses, and then I came over to the city of Miami.
Very nice.
All right, I didn't know that.
Yeah, where I've been for 20 years.
And they love you there.
Yeah, I have a good time.
All right. Hey, Rob, so let's jump into the topic that hindered the fire service here. We lost a real good one.
We did lose a good one, guys. We did.
I'm gonna let you take over on this one.
I got you. First and foremost, let me just before we jump into my brother Mark here, let's go ahead and re-welcome Timmy Gleason. Greg did a bang up job. I can hear you guys, but I couldn't talk. It's these new headphones that Herbie's making me wear. Herb is very high speed, and he wants us all to be on point. Make sure the audio is perfect. And then we got Timmy on the show. So I want to welcome Timmy. Timmy, welcome. You've been a friend, a brother, and a mentor. And I couldn't have thought about anyone better to come on the show with us today. And I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm looking forward to talking shop. And I get to see your ugly mug on the screen, which is great.
Thank you, man. It's my mug. It's a little furry right now because I'm on vacation actually. My youngest daughter, her birthday's the 12th, so I've been trying to get things ready for her birthday.
Right on. Yeah, I'm sporting a little bit of beard myself. I go back to work September 16th, and I haven't shaved since Mark's funeral. So jumping into Mark, Lieutenant Mark Weiss from the city of Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue Department. Mark Weiss is a brother, fireman, and fire service instructor like no other. Mark succumbed to his battle with pancreatic cancer on September 1st. He was accompanied by his family, his wife Andrea, mother, friends, family, sisters. Mark was a good guy. He touched a lot of lives, and you can tell by the impact he had on the fire service. Every conference that we ever went to, he was a staple at. The guy was tough as nails, and we say this every time we lose a brother. Like, this is the guy. This is the guy. Gentlemen, I promise you, and anyone listening can, vouch for me. Mark Weiss, aka the Hebrew Hammer, was one of a kind. He was rough around the edges, salty, and a big teddy bear. He was always looking to stir some shit at any conference he was at. The guy never stopped working, and then every night he was there for whatever was going on that night, whatever fellowship or festivities we were doing. And by the outpouring of love he received during his treatment, during his battle with pancreatic cancer, occupational cancer, it was obvious that he touched a lot of lives. He was involved in every aspect of the fire service, from the Explorer programs in Bonita Springs to Florida Task Force 6, a state USAR team. He was involved with every operation their fire department did. He was in every major conference in the state of Florida as an instructor, as an adjunct instructor, as a burn stoking fires and taking crews into live fires. I remember sitting off to the side on more than one occasion, whether in Orlando or Fort Lauderdale, and looking at him going into his 4th or 5th fire and thinking to myself, how does this guy do it day after day? And here I am just running my mouth and teaching, and not, half the time not even in gear, and I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I can't even imagine what he did, but I'd like to send our love and thoughts and prayers to Mark and Mark's family. We love you, brother, especially to his members at the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District, to his wife Andrea, to his family and daughters. We're all here with you. We're going to stay here with you guys. The fire service is a big family. You got hundreds of uncles now looking after you guys. Anything you need, we're a phone call away. And that's not just something we say, it's something we hold dear and mean. So from us to you, Mark, where is the toast, brother? He laughed at me because he would never want me to drink that.
He'll be missed.
God bless. Hebrew Hammer.
Hey, that was good, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
I think allegedly, I'm not positive. I think he might have been on that group years ago. Herbie, we were at a training facility and he was actually stoking the fire, and I think he ran everybody out of the place.
Yeah,
It sounds like it sounds like him.
that is a fact, my friend.
I think I still have scars from that one. Good stuff.
He was a good man.
Yeah.
Hell of a man.
So, not to make light of it, but while we're going into the, like you said, Rob, couldn't think of having a better guy on for the eve of 9/11. You know what I mean? Like now we're gonna make it crazy or anything, but it's a big day in the fire service, because we know the pain and all that kind of stuff, and Timmy, he's kind of like he's like the rest of us, kind of dedicated himself to USAR after all that. So this kind of touches a home, and I'd like to say it's one of my favorite Irish toasts. So we'll just kind of throw it out there for that, and then we'll get started. We won't make it too much of a sad deal. But so for each petal on the shamrock, this brings a wish your way: good health, good luck, and happiness for today and every day. May we all be alive at this same time next year. May you live as long as you want and never want as long as you may live. So I appreciate that. Let's drink that, fellas.
Good toast.
Cheers, boys.
Good toast.
Thank you. Thank you.
It goes very well with my 18-year Redbreast right now.
Oh,
Nice.
Redbreast.
That's the only Irish whiskey I drink now.
That sounds like something that would burn my esophagus all the way down.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
All right. So that's an invite. That sounds like
That's
an invite.
That's
All right.
definitely
Fair
an
enough.
invite.
Fair enough.
Hey, before we get going, boys, let me just add real quick. I want to also comment, and Greg and I were talking about it before the show. What a great job Bonita Springs did, and the neighboring department sending Mark home. The fire chief over there, we all worked with him before. Excellent fire service instructor, and a fireman's fire chief, Greg DeWitt. He stayed with the family. He took care of the ceremonies and hung out with us till the wee hours of the morning. He's a gentleman.
They did it great, man.
Fireman.
They did it right. They gave him a hero's funeral, and that's what he deserved.
All the speakers did great. He got to pick his own speakers. So these guys came up, and it was a combination roast / eulogy. It was amazing.
As it should be.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, we've known DeWitt a while too, man. And from everyone that went over there, I wish I could have made it. I kind of, came up at the last minute there, and I didn't realize. Shame on me. But everybody that went were like, man, they did it right. They were like, that chief did a great job over there. So that's good to hear, man. And you know what, Chief DeWitt, he wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah.
So hats off to him.
Not to get too political, but it would be nice to have some representation from the government when to see a funeral like that and hear how this guy battled cancer like a pro, and they turn around and fight the cancer presumption bill, and fight different types of cancers getting on that bill. They should come to these funerals and sit and listen to what these guys' lives were like when they lost.
I agree.
Before they lost it.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of horrible that it takes that for all of us to get together to high five and hug it out and all that again. So it's like, I think we say it after we're the biggest hypocrites. We say it after every funeral, like, you know what, damn it, we got to get together from now on, and not just because of this. And then we don't. And the next one we say it again. And some departments do. I get it, but it's something that we got to change a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little different than it used to be. But things change, and you just have to adjust. And it depends on us. I mean, senior man, junior man, it's us. We got to just grab somebody and say, hey, how you doing? And start getting together and start promoting the brotherhood of the fire service,
I agree.
Well, so let's jump right into it. You brought up a good point. You brought up the senior man. So in your own words, tell me, or let some of the younger guys that are listening right now, explain to them what that senior man entails.
Well, from my perception of it, I believe that it's a very important role in the fire service. In my department, we jokingly call it the station sergeant, and he basically is is the go-between between the bosses and the mop swingers, and he handles any little problems, and he pulls the guys aside and straightens out their collar when it needs to be done. But he's also a guy that gives very good feedback and says, hey, you did a hell of a job on that last run. I take it very serious. There's some guys, there's some bosses that don't really believe in the senior man concept, but I've been very fortunate in that everybody that I've ever worked with has taught me along the way, knowing that sooner or later I'd be the senior man. So I think it's a vital part, man. And I think, if a guy is striving to not necessarily promote within the fire service, but he can promote himself in the position of fireman, and he can get to be a master of his craft, one day he'll be the senior man in a firehouse, and he'll be able to do a great job. You don't necessarily have to promote. Now, what I will tell you is, if you're okay knowing possibly in your department that you will not make change from your position as a fireman, then if you're okay with that, then you'll be a great senior man. But if you're the type of guy that wants to make change and gets very frustrated not being able to make change from the position that he's at, then you need to promote. If that makes sense.
I agree.
Time out, guys.
Did you see Jody's?
Can we stop showing these things?
Hey, they're just calling it as it is, man. With your bogus watercolored picture back there, man.
It's got graffiti.
Yeah, I know. It's Miami graffiti on a country house. Like, I don't even know what that is right now.
It's a custom.
That's not even a thing, man.
It's fashion.
So one thing too, Timmy, with the senior man, I feel that the senior man age is getting a lot younger.
It is. It really is.
So that hinders, but it makes them grow up a little faster too, as well, in the fire service.
What, at least in my department, I can speak to what's happened over the last couple of years is we've had a hell of a lot of attrition. We lost at one point. We lost, about half of our department, and everybody that came on was brand new, obviously, and so they had to grow up very fast. My department is now a very young department. We have young officers. We have young people in positions that, normally you'd see a guy with 10 or 15 years becoming a captain. Now we're seeing guys with, 5-7 years, and they're moving fast. They're moving up the chain fast.
Yeah, I agree. And then your department takes on, the bigger thing as well is the USAR. So they also have to transition over to that. So that's a lot going on there too.
Well, we're the sponsoring agency for the USAR team, but we're fortunate enough that we're not, and I truly believe this with all my heart, we're not just a City of Miami USAR team. Florida 2, like I'll say Florida 1 is just Miami-Dade, only Miami-Dade guys. Florida 2, we're the host agency, but we're lucky enough to be able to pick from the best agencies and the best people in those agencies from all over South Florida. We have members, from Tampa. We have members from West Palm. We have members from Margate. So we have roughly 28 agencies that make up Florida 2. And I believe it's that makes us such a great team, that we have the ability to reach out from our department and tap into other resources that are local,
Yeah, I agree.
I agree as well.
Hey, so Timmy, with going back to your senior man talk that you were just going off of. So I know for a fact that some of my guys are listening right now, and I'm always preaching as senior man to them, because not everyone's going to be an officer. Right. Not everyone's cut out for it. And what would be, if you could give them one piece of advice, what's that one piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, it's actually two-pronged. Sorry, you said one. I'm going to go with two. That's just kind of the way.
I like it.
Yeah, the one first would be never stop learning. I got, like you heard it, 27 years, and I continue to try to still learn. Me and Rob were talking about going to a symposium today. So never stop learning. That's number one. Number two is every day you go to work, try to make a difference, no matter what it is. Try to do something a little bit better that day than you did the last day. Try to make something on the truck, hang a tool a little bit better, park the truck a little bit better. I don't care. Do something every day to make it to make your place in the world of the fire service, a little bit better. And then from there, extend it and try to make the fire service as a whole a little bit better. That's what I got. And if you're, I guess it's 3-pronged now. I guess if you're going to stay a fireman and try to be a senior man, try to make yourself the best you can within your position. Always be in position, no matter what. If your position is outside vent, make sure you're in position. If you're the driver, make sure you're in position. If you're on a technical job and you're rigging, make sure you're in position. Always be in position. And when you're there, know what the fuck you. Oh, sorry. Can I say that? Know what the hell you're doing.
No, we encourage
Say
that.
whatever you want on here, dude. We're
Yeah,
good.
we're all adults, man. We say the F word once in a while.
I just didn't know what the rules were, but now since you told me I could say fuck,
There's no rules, man.
then since I can say fuck, then that's great. That's
I'm gonna add to that for Timmy. You know, I'm looking at it from a company officer side. The longer I've been in the fire service, the more I've learned to appreciate that senior man role. Some of the best firemen I've met, not in my agency, but throughout the country, wherever we've been, and even in the USAR world, where you talk about we have 20 different agencies that compose Florida 2, which I'm proud to be a part of. Some of the best instructors, most qualified people, the guys that have the strongest hard drive and the strongest soft drive are firemen rank. I know in your agency you call them privates. I've learned to appreciate that not everybody has to promote, and I respect that individual who understands his job better than anyone else and masters the basics to the point where they're advanced, if that makes sense. They've mastered the basics, the simple stretches, the forcing the inward, forcing the outward swinging, doing the outside vent position, like you said, to the point that from the guy and girl watching from the outside, it looks like an advanced move because they've mastered that well. That senior man sets the tempo for the firehouse, sets the tempo for the company, creates boundaries that are not in protocol books. Boundaries are not in SOGs or policies and procedures. They're specific to his firehouse, his truck, his equipment, the way he wants his shit laid out, the time the guys eat, the time the guys go to bed, and the buffer to all the bullshit that comes down the hallway before it gets to the company officer. If there's a shit sandwich to take a bite of, I honestly believe the company officer is responsible for 51% of that bite. I got to own 51% of that bite.
Rob, I couldn't agree.
I'm sorry. Just this guy here. The senior man's got to make sure that the company understands that they're responsible for the other 49% of that shit sandwich. And he needs to make sure that they understand that.
I couldn't agree more. And I also think, to add to that the culture of your department helps with molding your senior man as kind of a no-nonsense type operation. Yeah. Some of the departments we work at, you know, a time where you got to fluff it a little bit, but a lot of times you just got to put your hand down. You know what I mean? Like you said, you got to filter the stuff that comes down the hallway to the company officer, because you know what? They don't need to deal with that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they got a lot on their plate, man. There's a lot of shit that they just don't need to deal with. Right now, currently at my firehouse, I have a captain and 2 lieutenants. We're going to end up shortly with a 3rd lieutenant because we're putting another truck in service eventually. But, you know, and I just try to buffer the bullshit with the boys, you know, and the girls, and, you know, and try to build. The biggest thing for me, what I do, biggest kind of senior man thing when you come to my firehouse, the biggest thing I do is I don't allow you to wear other firehouse T-shirts in our shift. You know, if you're wearing a Station 9 shirt, well, you're assigned to Station 6 today on the A shift, and you're not going to wear a Station 9 shirt. Go change your shirt. I'll give you one of mine if you don't have one. When they bid into the station, the first thing I tell them is don't wear other firehouse T-shirts in this station. You may have took a tour of the city before you got here, but now you're assigned to 6, and you'll wear 6 attire. So,
yeah, I think that's where it starts, man.
And it's just, for me, it's a pride thing. You know, you start building pride within a little circle in your firehouse, and then it extends to you know, to the rest of the department. You know, take care of your shift, your men in your shift first, and then it extends to the other shifts, and then it extends to the fire department. You know,
I can definitely see you doing that, because it reminds me. I've been chomping at the bit to tell the story. So when I went into TF2's orientation, and it took me a while to get there, man, but when I was there, I was giddy. I couldn't, you know. And then all of a sudden, this old salty fireman comes up to the top with his bag, and I'm like, all right, let's hear what this guy's got to say. This is going to be good. It was you, Timmy, who came up there, and you said, let me tell you something. I said, you were kind of, and I'm not going to quote you, but this was the roundabout way that it went down. It was, I'm glad you guys are here. I don't care what your rank is in the other department. You work for me. This is how we do stuff. We do it good. That's the way it is. I will put you in harm's way. And if you don't like that, you can leave. There's the door right there on the outside. Is there any questions? And I'm like, this is my guy right here. I was like, best orientation speech ever.
And yeah, you know, in the USAR world, obviously we're going to do everything we can to keep you safe and get you back on that plane or that bus to go home. But the truth of the matter is, man, in the USAR world, we're the last line of defense for these people that we're going to help. You know, a lot of times we get there and there's no infrastructure. There's no local fire departments, no local police departments. Nobody's there to help these people. You know, I can speak as in Haiti. We definitely put people in harm's way. I put Rob in harm's way. I was in harm's way. You know, we did what we had to do to rescue the people that we rescued, and sometimes it was a little scary.
Yeah, I appreciated that speech because I think, and I don't have any specifics, but I think when people walk in there and they're somebody or they have rank or whatever the case may be in their own department, that's not how the system works on the team.
Yeah.
And the team's in play, and it's in play for a reason. And I really appreciate that, man. So that's one of my favorite orientation speeches. You know, I'm not going to admit it. I'm not going to admit it to anyone, but I might have got a little teary-eyed in the back of the room. But I'll deny it if anyone says it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone that knows the two of you understands why you would like that, Greg. You guys are absolutely on the same fucking page.
Yes, that's a compliment, I think.
It is. I take it.
Okay.
I take it as a total compliment, man. But you know, one more thing: building pride with whatever group that you're in. That's the senior man thing to do. When we went to the Panhandle for the hurricanes there, I got bumped down to a squad officer, and we became basically a band of pirates. My squad was known as the pirate ship. We even found stickers, while we were walking in the street that were pirate stickers with pirate flags and pirate boats, and they stuck them all over their helmets, and they called the squad one the pirate ship. So we built camaraderie that way, and that's what makes a great firehouse, and that's what makes a great senior man, is a guy that's always on top of that kind of stuff.
Love it.
I like it.
No, I'd say that's the type of information that guys aren't going to get, but they're shown from senior men before them, and there's not a book for that.
No, there's not. And you got to just give back what you were given. I mean, every one of us was given something by somebody else in this world and in this fire department. Don't hold it, man. If it's a good piece of information, give it back, pay it forward, give it to somebody else. That's how we keep all this bullshit going. That's how we keep, brotherhood in the fire service going. We don't do that, this thing's going to grind to a screeching fucking massive halt, and it's going to be bad. We got to keep it going. And the way you keep it going is try to make a difference every day and pass on any information that you can to the next guy, and have him pass it to the next guy, pass it to the next guy. I don't care if it's a different way to start a saw. Show it to him, and then have him pass it to somebody else. And be proud of your firehouse, and be proud of the men and women that you work with. They may not have a great reputation in the fire service, in your fire department, but they're yours. So try to help them. Try to pass them, information. Stand up for them when you need to stand up for them. And buffer the bullshit between them and the captains and the officers.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Tim. As far as the hoarding information, keeping information, passing information, I think we're all responsible for that, from the senior man to the junior man to the company officers and so on. There's no sense for us to go out there and take a class and then come back and keep it to yourselves. I mean, there's power in knowledge, but there's true power in sharing that knowledge.
Yeah, what's
empowering someone else.
It's funny you mentioned that, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to mention you specifically. I sat in your survival class before I was teaching with you on that, and you told the guys, hey, at the end, if anybody wants my PowerPoint, I'll be more than happy to give it to you. I've taken classes where I've gone up to the guy and asked him, hey, can I get a copy of your PowerPoint, or can you send me certain? No, man, I'm sorry, this is my stuff. And well, then what the fuck are we talking about when we're talking about brotherhood and talking about all this shit? What you're not gonna give me your PowerPoint so I can pass it on to my firehouse? You know, that gets to be a little, a little much sometimes. You gotta.
I get it. I get it, and I also get the other side as well. I won't sit here on soapbox and be hypocritical because we have a lot of people watching. But I understand both sides. I understand the firehouse side. I understand the business side. A lot of the guys and girls watching us, they're in the teaching circuit. They do the conferences. A lot of them use that teaching platform, that soapbox as a second form of income to supplement a wife, kids, and mortgages. So, and there are people out there that are not brothers or stepbrothers, and they'll go out there and they'll take your program one time and then change the title on it and make it their own and teach it the wrong way.
Absolutely correct. I've seen that too. And
well, and I also think that guys that go out and they take these classes and they're like, oh man, and the younger guys or whoever's chomping at the bit, like, hey man, I want to hear what you had to, what you learned and all that. And then when they don't tell you, I almost feel like it's an insecurity thing too. It's like, oh no, this is my info. Like it's a leg up. It's like, it's not a leg up, man. So I see, like you said, Rob, I see both sides of it. I can see
both sides. I mean, I can understand if you're trying to make money out of a business and you don't want to necessarily pass on your key information. But if it's something along the lines of building a acre shore, then give the guy the information, man. What's the big deal?
Exactly.
The knowledge is there. And the
knowledge is there. Just pass it on to the kid, man. What's the big deal?
But also
cutting a car a certain way, buddy. You didn't fucking trademark this. Somebody else is gonna figure it out too. So go ahead and show him what he wants.
Speaking of shoring,
I see. That's a badass background, man.
I build that every day. Every single day we have the podcast, I build that real quick. Me and my son.
I like that.
No, but I mean, so that's you and Rob touched on it briefly, and I feel like whether it's an insecurity or it's guys not feeling like they're going to have that leg up. But honestly, you're doing a disservice to the fire service if you do not come back and give those information that you just learned. And so that's a twofold issue because now you're going to come back, you train your guys on it, you show them what you learned. Well, when you're teaching them, you're actually reiterating all the points that you just taught. It's making you better, but yet you're spreading the information. So it's twofold. But for some reason in the fire service, guys are like, I don't want to give them that information, or I want to keep it to myself. Well, all offense there, dumbass. You're doing a disservice to the brotherhood because you're not giving the information that needs to be given back to the brothers.
We had Dan on last Rescue 5 on our last episode. Remember, guys? And what did he say? What do you remember? He said that to Herbie's point. He legit said just that. He said, I don't teach rope because I'm good at rope. I'm good at rope because I teach it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the more you get out there, the better we're going to get at it.
Absolutely.
And that made total sense to me when he said it.
I want to start a class that's just called Fire Shit at the Bars, where you just skip all day long. And then at night you just hang out and drink beers and talk fire shit all day. I feel like you get
some of the best learning
ever.
you'll ever get.
Ever
sitting around a bunch of brothers and sisters sitting around talking shit and fucking with each other.
That's my new class.
The best learning you're ever gonna get. Sitting around the kitchen table, talking shit. Yeah, the hands-on stuff is important, but the knowledge comes from the face-to-face interaction with each other.
I agree.
The expos, Fort Lauderdale Fire Expo, you stand at the bar and talk to somebody, you learn something. You walk out of there learning something. We're creatures of habit. We go right into, hey, well, I had a job this. I had a job. Oh, yeah. How did you do that? How did you do this? That's what we do. And you learn. That's when the learning happens,
Yeah,
there's guys on departments that end of a union meeting, they don't hang out. They go straight home. And maybe they have something going on. But when we're all together, that's when the learning, that's when the magic happens, man.
Yeah, I think in the class, you kind of have your spiel. But when you're at at the bar or after hours or whatever you're hanging out,
after hours is where the big stuff happens.
I agree.
Now, it could go the other way too, and the really big stuff happens after hours. But
exactly.
But I mean that fellowship on the after the class, that's where some of your best friends are going to be met. some of the best information you're going to learn is right there. So I always tell these guys, I'm like, don't be quick to jump in your car and go home. Sit and drink a beer, hang out on the tailgate, because you're going to learn a lot sitting there listening to other individuals talk. And sometimes the best information you can do is shut the fuck up, listen to what the other people are saying.
Absolutely. That's mostly what I do.
Oh, I mean,
I'm not a big talker. I mean, even with this, I'm a little, sketchy. I'm not a big talker. I try to stay kind of quiet. But I listen, and that's what I listen and watch. That's my biggest thing. I'm always listening. And that's where the learning happens, man. I totally agree with you. And you watch people. You watch people how they act. One guy that I've watched for a long time is a chief of the department down here in Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and I watch him all the time whenever I'm around him, and he's a class act, man. Rob knows what I'm talking about. I don't know if I should mention his name or what, but we call him Sally. I would say that.
He was just picking on us a minute ago on our
but
on our
you stand and you watch the guy, and he's a class act in everything he does, and there's a lot of learning that can go on from a guy like that.
Well,
that was he paid me to say that.
No, but here's the thing with Sally. When you're around him, he is making you want to be better.
Absolutely.
Hands down. He's making you want to love the fire service as much as he loves the fire service. And the only thing you can do is love the fire service as much as he does, because all his enthusiasm is just dripping off to you. And if not, well, shame on you, because you're really not loving this career the way you should.
Yeah. The big thing about him too is, and I'm tired of blowing smoke up his ass, but the biggest thing about him is he does it all very humbly. So, staying humble, you could be the best there is. I don't give a shit who you are. You can be FDNY, City of Miami, West Palm Beach, Margate. You could be the best in your department. Be humble. Do it humbly. What did he say? I missed it.
He said he's
back.
Oh, okay. So, just do it humbly. Do what you do, but do it humbly.
I agree.
You don't need to tell everybody you're the best, Let your performance speak for yourself.
Listen, normally the guys that are walking around telling everyone that they're the best, normally they're not the best at all.
Yeah.
So
we all put our bunker pants on the same way, man.
Absolutely. All right, Rob. Hey, you want to jump into this?
I am. I'm going to jump right in. I'm just reading all these things. What's going on, Quilter? He says Sally's the third best in Boca. That's amazing. That's amazing. If anybody's ever met Quilter,
that's a new T-shirt right
there. He is. He's big. He's big in Boca. Number 3. Right
there. Sally's the third best in Boca.
It's amazing. All right, Timmy. I'm going to get right into it. Go ahead, Herb. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right. I think I may know the answer to this question, but I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyways. In your career, deployments, fire service, talk to us, talk to the show, talk to the listeners about a time in your career where you were put in a position of leadership and you had to make a decision or give an order to put your guys in harm's way. And how'd you reach that decision, and how'd you deal with repercussions of it afterwards?
That's a hard one, and it gives me butterflies to answer that question, because it's happened, and there definitely is the burden of leadership. That statement, the burden of leadership, I've felt it, and it was a scary feeling, and it was Haiti. I'm not gonna lie. The biggest, probably one of the biggest events in my career so far has been the earthquake in Haiti. I deployed as a rescue team manager to Haiti, and that was the first time I was in that role. So it was the biggest deployment I've ever been on, and it was like, hey kid, you're in the World Series, go. And I had a bunch of strong, guys under me in squad positions, and we went to work, and we were at it for a long time. And I was watching guys. I was trying to, I'm being told, hey, make sure they're drinking water. Hey, make sure they're not falling asleep. Hey, make sure that. But we were, 30 hours, 40 hours, close to 40 hours without sleep the first rotation, and it was nerve-wracking. And not only that, we were getting into some pretty hairy spots where we were finding people that we have to make a decision on, and we were having aftershocks and earthquakes, mini earthquakes, while we were entrenched into a building that's collapsed already. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I definitely thought I was going to have to make phone calls to people's wives, and Rob was one of them. Carlos Pumagero was another one. Oscar Rodriguez is another one. Carlos Soldavilla from the city. A bunch of young guys on the team. Some of them, it was their first deployment, and I was putting them in positions where I really didn't know if I was going to get them back. And it finally got to a point where we were at a pretty critical rescue where we had 2 people trapped, in a building that we were working, and we were having aftershock after aftershock after aftershock. And the TFL and program manager came over to me and he pulled me aside and he said, "Hey man, are we going to kill somebody here? Do you have this under control? What's going on?" And I said, all I want you to do is just take a look at what we're dealing with and then ask me that question again. And he crawled into the hole, to his credit, and he called out. And when he called out, he could hear the people trapped. And there was probably 3 feet of rubble between us and them. And he came back out of the hole and he said, they're talking to us. And I said, absolutely, they're talking to us. And he said, do whatever you have to do to get those people out. And it was a scary moment. I ended up crawling into the hole, and I almost like a forward command position, because I wanted to be able to dictate where the cuts and breaks were made, because if the rest of it came down, I wanted it to be my fault, not theirs, So I crawled into the hole. They were rotating every 10 minutes, but I stayed in the hole for probably 6 hours until we got them out. The people out, and it was a successful rescue, and everybody went home happy. But I will tell you, I was puckered that whole deployment. I was puckered, and to be honest with you, that deployment changed my life. I don't remember the man I was before that deployment. I can honestly tell you that, and I tell my family that all the time. It completely changed me. It changed the way I think. It changed the way I acted. It changed everything about me. It changed. Like I said, I don't remember the Timmy Gleason before Haiti. When I stepped off that plane, it's like a switch happened. The smells, the sounds, everything it was like flipping a switch. And when I came home, I was a different man.
Well, I can go ahead and having been there with you, and if you guys are cool with me just talking to Timmy real quick, having been there with you and being a part of those moments, I can totally relate with you saying that you're a different person. I've said that 100 times in conversations, that the person that landed in Haiti never left.
Yeah.
We all left, are different people. We just it's a normal response to abnormal situations. We had 250,000 casualties in a place the size of the city of Miami. And that just doesn't make sense. Without infrastructure, without rules and regs and buildings and every type of building construction collapse possible. And we were crawling through there feverishly with no sleep, limited equipment, doing the best we could with the supplies and equipment we had. And you, my friend, were a fucking rock star. I was there. I was at the lowest level of the team. I was the rescue specialist. Right there, rescue specialist. Being there, being unsure of my duties, being unsure of what my expectations were of you guys and you guys of me. I just looked for you to lead the way, and I can't even imagine now that you and I are in the positions that we're in on the team. I can't even imagine a deployment like that for my first deployment as an RTM. That would be crazy for me. So my hat's off to you. I don't know if you remember, and you guys have taught ladder slides in your departments. Bail out a window, do a ladder slide.
I'll never forget your ladder slide. I'll never forget. I was talking to somebody about it the other day.
We actually did a ladder slide, Timmy and I, because we were about 20 feet into a hole. How big was the hole, Timmy? Like 24 inches by 24 inches?
Basically what it was imagine yourself in a Publix that everything crushed down to 3 feet. You're in aisle 1, and everything above you crushed down to about 3 feet of working space. So that's what we were in. We were in a supermarket, and we bailed the fuck out, and we were working on the second floor. Well, it was first floor out of a basement. So we bailed out of the first floor into the basement because that's how we accessed the floor, and we did a ladder slide down a ladder to get out. And Rob's was classic.
The whole building. So we're in this hole, and Timmy is not exaggerating at all. Timmy spent the entire 6 hours of that operation at the end of the hole, and every time we rotated in and out. And this was a volunteer-only mission, by the way. We had been pulled out. We broke up the squads. We became our own squads again, and became a volunteer-only mission. And we had the same.
Yeah, I kind of made him. That was a young leader's mistake. I'll never make that mistake again. We were having aftershocks, and I basically everybody was nervous that they were gonna fucking die. Let's be honest, they were gonna get crushed or trapped, and but we had people in the building, and I basically pull all the rescue guys aside, and I said, listen, I can't order you back into that building, but I'm going back into the building. And, I was doing it trying to rally the troops and get them all engaged and get them, kind of a Braveheart moment, where I'm going to go in. I want you guys to follow me. And it was a mistake because I had some guys that said, I'm not going. And I say it's a mistake because now on our team on Florida 2, we talk about that very early on. And if you're going to think that you're going to back out, then this team's not for you. We can't have that do something. You can be on the team, but do something else. Don't be a rescue specialist, because you're going to legitimately be the buffer between these people dying and living.
That's my favorite speech of all times, by the way.
Yeah.
Speech.
Hey, Greg, you would love this.
I get misty-eyed when I hear it.
Greg, you and Herb would love this. So talk about servant leadership. So every time you crawl into this hole, it takes you a while to get into this hole. You get into this confined space. You crawl down this aisle about 25 feet on your hands and knees. You're dragging Hilti breakers and all types of equipment down there with us. I think at one point we had hydraulics in there. I don't even remember.
Everything.
We're trying to get through these aisles to get to these two people that we can hear on the other side of the aisle. But we had about 3 feet of rubble between us and them. And so every time you crawl down the hole, you got your headlamp, and you can only see about a foot in front of you. This is like 2010 headlamps, not the cool LED shit now that these guys are getting, right? So we can see like a foot in front of us, right? And half the time the battery will go out pitch black. And for the first couple of days, and I'm not kidding, Timmy, the second when you got into that hole, you had to crawl over a body.
Yeah.
Remember the body? And we had to crawl over. She was stuck. And I'm not gonna get into everything we talked about with her, but we ended up putting her in a bag. So every time you come in the hole, you have to crawl over her to get down the hallway. So in the pitch black, and this is days into her being deceased. And so anyways, that's just to add to the graphic cool part of the story. So we get to the end of this hallway, and there's my RTM with his headlamp crawled into a space only he can fit in, and be like, hey guys, I'm here. We're like, and then honestly, from me to you, that made me feel better. Because I would get down there and shit, that's my boss sitting right there. And he's been here the whole time. We switched out. They switched out. And I took a rest, came back, and he's still in there. The Caribbean Supermarket. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And
David Walters was there with us, too.
Yes, sir. And so long story short, guys, we're in this hallway, and I start feeling rubble hitting my helmet. So I feel like pieces of concrete bouncing off my helmet. But the guy in front of me is braking. And I'm on deck waiting for him to get tired so I can get in there and brake. So I'm thinking it's maybe him. But then more rubble. And then the entire hole that we're in, if you can picture a pipe in front of you of rubble, and Timmy Gleason at the end, at the other side, the entire hole starts doing this. And I'm like, oh shit, this is another earthquake.
Yeah.
Now, we can't turn around and go out the other way because we don't fit. You got to crawl like a crab backwards. There's no space to turn around. We're in a confined space. So it's assholes and elbows as fast as you can out of that hole. And Timmy and I were the last ones out of the hole. And once we hit that ladder, that building was still shaking. And we ladder slid like a good fucking survival class.
Yeah,
pros. Got outside, gathered ourselves, dusted ourselves off. The earth stopped shaking. And we went back in, and somewhere around midnight, we got them out.
That's the first time I've ever felt an earthquake, and I got to tell you, it is the weirdest feeling in the world. It's shaking, vibrating, but gyrating at the same time. I was brushing my teeth when we had the first aftershock, and it was fucking weird, man. Weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how the boys in California do it.
Yeah, we're used to hurricanes, not earthquakes. Earth shouldn't move like that.
I'm tired of them too.
True story.
I'd rather do hurricanes than the ground shaking and everything twisting. I feel like something's not right with that.
Yeah, at least we can prepare for them, but
yeah,
it seems like Mother Nature's just really pissed off, and she's like, we're not going to do 1s and 2s anymore. We're going to throw you 3, 4s, and 5s, and we're going to try to even pass up a 5, She's pissed.
Yeah.
She's pissed, and the hurricanes are getting worse, it seems. At least to me, it seems.
Hey, Timmy, so Justin Strickland,
yeah,
he works for us. He's one of your Immokalee boys.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, so he wanted to say what's up and tell you he's representing.
Yeah. Immokalee was some of the best years of my career, man.
No, man, he's
that was true gritty firefighting and with that department. You'd pull up to a fire, you may be the only guy on the truck or the engine. You pull up, you put the truck in pump gear, pull the line to the front door, go back, put your air pack on, go back, bleed the line, maybe do a walk around. Hopefully by then the next truck is there. If not, you're forcing the door and you're going in and fighting fire. And the second truck, maybe one guy, he jumps off the truck, follows the hose line into the nozzle, and you guys fight fire. And then you do overhaul, and then you do pack hose, and that, you had to learn. You had to learn every aspect of firefighting. And vehicle extrication and medical and everything that goes along with it. And you were shorthanded. You had 1 or 2 people, maybe 3, Closest mutual aid was 15, 20 minutes away. So
yeah, it's
you had to learn. You learned quick there. Those boys, I'm telling you, those boys learned quick there.
Well, that's the problem. And I know Greg and I always hit on it with when we're talking to our guys at our department and just other guys that are always bitch moaning and complaining, because I came from a small department on the West Coast, and there was 2 guys on the truck if you were lucky.
Yeah.
And if you did get something, you were doing every aspect of that job.
Yeah.
You were busting your ass. There was none of this, hey, you're the officer, you're the engineer. No, you're doing everything.
Yeah.
And when you get back to the firehouse, that's when you can rest. But until then, you got a ton of shit that you got to do. And I feel the guys that end up doing a lot more with a lot less, for at least in my own experience, I feel as if they have so much more pride.
Absolutely.
Because they don't take it for granted.
Right.
Whereas,
and sometimes the guys with that attitude, and I'm fortunate, and most of the men and women that I've ever worked with, whether it be City of Immokalee, City of Miami, Florida too, most of the men and women that I've ever worked with have that attitude, and it almost gets us in trouble because we're willing to do whatever we have to do with less. So, hey, you can't get us the tools? No problem. We'll figure out how to use a hammer as a screwdriver.
Yep.
When they really should be getting us a screwdriver. But that attitude of, we'll do it, we'll take care of it, doesn't matter. I've had that. I've been around that attitude my whole career, and I think it's great. But sometimes it gets us in a little bit of trouble too,
Yeah, it's
because then they take advantage sometimes,
Well, because then they don't know when to say enough is enough, and they keep pushing the envelope.
Absolutely. And when I say they, I mean, the
No. Yeah, absolutely.
There he is. I saw him. What did he say? I saw Sally.
He said, ALA.
Okay. He must be butt dialing us or something.
Yeah, he must be drunk right now.
he might have fell asleep on his phone.
He probably fell asleep on his phone. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, doing chief stuff. Forgot all about it.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me so while we're still talking about the USAR stuff and all that, I know it's a big deal, and it can be sometimes if you let it, as far as being senior man on your department, and then you go to the boss of the USAR of a bunch of people, and I understand arguably, and this is my opinion, and I actually think I put our team up against anyone. Arguably, I think we have the best team in the country. without a doubt. Maybe I'm a little biased, but I have to say that because I know a handful of those guys on there and the skills they bring. But as far as you, Timmy, being senior man at the station, you do that. You're the firefighter at the station. How do you flip the switch in your mindset when you have to go become the boss on the USAR team? Is it that big of a transition, or is it kind of, how do you do it? What's the key on that?
Well, what I can say is I'm fortunate, and I'm fortunate in that the men and women that I work with on Florida 2, most of them, I'm not going to say all, but most of them have the attitude when they come there that they are a worker bee on Florida 2 in whatever position they're in. And they accept the fact that they may be a chief or a captain in their fire department, but they accept the fact that a firefighter is going to be telling them what to do. So I'm fortunate that most of the members that I have understand that. I don't have to explain that to them. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's not that it's hard because I'm confident in what I'm doing and what I'm telling them, but it's hard in the fact that I realize the fact that all of you have rank. You've studied, you've earned your spot, and I'm coming at you as a firefighter, telling you, hey, I need for you to climb that ladder and go break through that concrete wall. So my biggest thing is I try to stay humble and ask first what I need done. And, and hopefully it doesn't get to the point where I have to start ordering people. But like I said, I'm very fortunate in the fact that guys like you or Rob, if I go, hey, I need a hole broken over there, you're grabbing a hammer and you're breaking it through. I don't have to necessarily give orders, I'll tell you that in Haiti, that first deployment, I looked around when I knew we were going into that building and it was shaking and I was thinking we were going to kill somebody. I looked around and I said, I got to get in there because I got a bunch of young guys and I'm not going to tell them to do something that I'm not doing myself. And maybe there's going to be people that are going to say, well, he took a bad position because he wasn't seeing the whole picture as the boss. But I don't care. I went in and I did what I thought I had to do, and it was tough. It was tough making those decisions. And there is a little switch that you have to flip, but I've been fortunate that with the guys and gals that I work with on the USAR team, I haven't had to really push that envelope. I work with guys that I'm assigned with at the firehouse. Like my captain's on the team. He's my captain at the firehouse, but when we come to the USAR side, I'm his boss. So it's a little weird, but like I said, most of the guys I work with on the team fall into it pretty easy.
But I also think that you, being who you are and being dedicated to it, that you carry that respect. So it's easy to follow you.
That was the other thing I was going to say. I would like to think that the guys and gals that are on the team respect the years that I've put in and the experience that I've had and the stuff that I've done and the classes I've taught and got under my belt.
And the things you've gone through.
Respect that and be able to succumb to me telling them to climb a ladder when they're going, I don't want to fucking climb this ladder. I'm a goddamn chief,
Right, exactly. Well, and the things you've gone through too. I mean, that right there. I mean, that just holds merit whether you like it or not. I mean, that's experience that you and Rob have that a lot of us may never see.
When you say Florida 2 is the best team, I tend to agree with you, and the reason why I tend to agree with you is maybe saying we're the best team is not the right verbiage, but what I will tell you is there are members on this team that are part of a fraternity that most people will never see in their career. And that's pulling actual live people out of collapsed buildings. There's very few teams in the FEMA service. Maybe guys that are in the New York teams, because they work for the fire department up there and they get a lot of structural collapse. But there's very few people in the USAR world and in the fire department world that can say they've pulled live people out of collapsed buildings, and that's a pretty special fraternity to be in. So there are other members of other agencies and other teams, but we have multiple members in that fraternity because we were all in that building. So that's why I think we're one of the best teams in the system.
And like I said, with all the teams out there. I mean, no disrespect saying that, you
No,
know what I
I
mean?
don't
As
either.
far as, but it's,
I don't either. There are some great
um,
teams out there.
oh,
But
absolutely.
they just haven't had the experience that we had, you know?
And the other thing I like too is, when we were in South Carolina, did a deployment up there. The Nunez was our other RTM,
Yeah, David.
and I was wondering, did you make him remove the snakes, or was that your job to remove the
No,
snakes?
I don't remove snakes, buddy. I don't touch snakes. I don't go near fucking snakes. No snakes, no spiders, no frogs. Fuck that.
Bro, that was the greatest thing I've
No.
ever seen.
No. There were fucking
All right, I was just
snakes
making a
everywhere. There were snakes everywhere.
I was
They were
just making
hanging
sure
from
Rob
trees.
knew.
Oh my God, man. They were hanging from trees. They were in the grass. They were fucking everywhere, man.
I was just making sure Rob knew where he was getting himself into, that he's the snake wrangler now.
Yeah. Right. He's a junior fucking RTM. He's removing the snakes for sure. On the white team, he's removing the snakes.
Perfect.
All
All
over.
right, Rob.
And he's doing the paperwork too.
Oh yeah, found out
Perfect.
today.
I like it.
Looking forward to
I
it.
look forward to working with Robbie Boy. I think it's going to be fun. We're both
He,
going to be RTMs on one of the teams for our Florida team, and it's going to be a good time.
Well, I don't know if
well deserved promotion for Rob.
Well, I don't know if
Thank
you
you,
guys
Tim.
know this or not, but
Thank you.
when he got promoted to the white team, the next morning the red team is throwing a massive raging party because he is no longer on the red team.
Absolutely.
I wasn't sure what that was about, but I'm going. You know,
It was a goodbye party. It was a farewell party.
They paid me pretty well.
Celebration of life.
Nice.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, well, we'll miss you, Rob, no doubt.
I wish I could say the same.
Thanks, man.
You got it.
Appreciate that.
Hey,
No problem.
hey, Timmy. So, you telling some of these guys about what was your thought process and just what were you thinking about that first time that you actually got that deployment? What was going on in your head? Like, what were you thinking about when you got that call that, hey, it's go time? Everything I've trained for, we're getting deployed. Kind of let some of these newer guys that are listening, what was going on in your head? What were you thinking about?
It's funny. You know, I immediately went into when they alerted us first. I was already part of the staff then. They alerted us, and I knew it was coming. So, you know, we started calling all the guys in, and in the process of calling all the guys in and gathering all the stuff that we needed to gather, I started. I kind of switched modes, and I went into, okay, what are we going to expect over there? And I slid out of the office and I jumped onto Google, and I actually started, looking at structures in Haiti to see what we could expect. And I didn't have much luck because there's no building code in Haiti, and there was just really no reference as to what kind of damage or what kind of buildings we were going to face. So I really leaned on guys that I know their shit and that have helped me and that have been mentors to me over the years. And I started making phone calls. Going to the airport where we were going to leave, I was on my phone making phone calls. I was calling guys like Mike Nugent. I was calling guys like Freddie LaFamina from FDNY, guys that I know that are really great USAR guys. And I started asking questions. Hey, what can I expect? What should I be doing? And then I got to be 100% honest, man. All that shit went out the window as soon as we put boots on the ground because the devastation was so bad, and the holes and the shit that we had to crawl into were so small that if I had Rob crawl in the hole and then built a shore for his safety, if he had to get out of that hole in a hurry, that hole was going to be his coffin. If you built shoring, you weren't going to get in. So we had to do a lot of improv stuff. And, the whole time I was just trying to find research that I could look up, and I carried my fog manual with me. I'm not going to say I was in it the whole time, but, I leaned on the older guys on the team. We had some older seasoned guys on the team at the time. And I leaned on them a lot. The other RTM was Rick Sanda from the City of Miami Fire Department. He did 30 years in the department, and he had 10 years on the technical rescue team. So the guy was a wealth of knowledge. So I would wake him up. Hey, we're going out. I got this question, because we were working in shifts, And then it got to the point where both shifts were working. So I would either walk over to where he was or I'd call him on the radio. I'm not afraid to ask questions. And that's the big thing about me. If I don't know, I'm going to ask. And that deployment, I asked a lot. We had Frank Maynade with us, who was another wealth of knowledge. And I would lean on him. Hey, I'm going to make this decision. What do you think? I had a good safety officer that helped me along too, Mark Wilson. So it was easy. Now, I'm not going to say it was easy for me, but, I had it a little easier. But the big decision for me that I made, and I don't know necessarily if it was the right decision or not. You guys are bosses, you tell me. But the biggest decision I made was crawling in that hole or helping when they started dismembering bodies, because I didn't want the young guys that were on the crew that were not experienced. I didn't want them to do something that I hadn't done myself. And that's the way I went at it.
I think that's a call that can only be made by being there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's beyond Monday morning quarterback shit right there, man. That's well beyond that. Like I couldn't even fathom what you were going through, what you guys were doing, crawling in the holes, that type deal. And, painting the picture. And then if you were the boss and you're that role, I mean, you're definitely not one of those bosses that takes a stand outside with your hands in your pocket and it's done. You were like, you know what? I got to get eyes on this. And like you said, experience the young guys, all that stuff. I mean, that's key. And I think, and I'm just throwing that out there, but I think that's why you basically earned and carry a lot of respect from your subordinates, you being the RTM. And that's me speaking, but I'm pretty sure that's pretty much the collective thought on the team.
It's hard for me to, believe me, thank you. It's feels good to have you guys say that, but I have a hard time with it because I'm just kind of doing, in my head, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Rob laughs at me all the time, and tells me to take a compliment because I don't take them very well, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And to me, it's just I'm kind of doing what I'm supposed to do. That in my eyes, somebody else may look at me and go, "That guy's a shitty fucking rescue guy," but I'm doing what I think I need to do. And one of the biggest things is make a decision, man. If you're in a position, make a decision. Maybe it's the wrong decision and you deal with it afterwards, but make a damn decision. Don't stand there and let it all go to shit. Make a decision.
I agree.
The worst decision is no decision.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny that you said that too, because Rob couldn't make the deployment to South Carolina, and you guys kind of bumped me up to squad officer. And like I said, once again, it was a nice, good Timmyism. It was like, hey, you're the boss. Don't let me down. You turned around and walked away. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Don't fuck this up.
Yeah, that's a nice pass down.
That's basically the way it was handed to me. Here, you're the rescue team manager. Don't fuck it up.
But when I came to you and I said, hey, man, what's your expectations? What do you want from me? I thought you couldn't have hit it any better. You were just like, take care of your guys, keep me informed, and do the rest of the shit that you know to do. And that was it. That was your spiel. And I'm like, all right, I can dig that. And then I called Rob and I go, what the hell? And you were like, I'm in New York. I don't care. So whatever.
I was in New York City. It was actually this weekend.
Yeah.
It was actually this weekend with 9/11.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
Timmy. Yeah,
yes,
cheers
sir.
to that again.
Yeah,
Fallen
absolutely.
brothers. Timmy, having 10 years to look back at it, 10 years of hindsight quarterbacking, life experience, maturity, blah, blah, blah. Time on the team, multiple deployments. We needed you in that hole. Every single one of us needed you in that hole. So if I had to do it tomorrow morning as an RTM, I would be in that hole with my guys because I watched you do it. I know the impact you had on the success of the operation. We needed somebody in line of sight to keep us moving in the right direction. Someone outside the hole would not have kept these members working at the feverish pace which got those people out. We needed someone in there. Days before that, we were breaking another hole, and we had our structural engineer,
Duquesne. George Duquesne. Yeah, Duke.
We had Duke in the hole, and I ended up cutting. I was on my back, and I ended up cutting some type of rebar by mistake.
It was a
breaking
tension.
upwards.
It was tension. It was a tension line.
It was a tension line.
There's a tension line through a header. Yeah, and you cut it.
It sounded like a shotgun.
And it sounded like a shotgun, and everybody shit their pants.
And I looked over with my shitty headlamp, and there he was, laying to my right, on his back, helmet off, using it as a pillow.
Yeah.
And I said, Duke, question, are we okay in here? And in full Duke structural engineer fashion, he told me, I don't know your name, but I don't want to. He goes, I don't want to die. So if you look over here and I am still here, you're okay. If you look over here and I am gone, you should be gone too.
You should be gone too. Yeah.
Brother, every 30 seconds, I was like, tuck, 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 tuck. Is Duke still there? Tuck, 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 tuck. Is Duke still there? I had a freaking every 30-second check on Duke, and he was there the entire time. We needed a boss down there. We're young, inexperienced. We needed you guys.
That guy is the epitome of leadership to me, and how to deal with people. He's a structural engineer on the team, and he's a captain. Well, at that point, he was a captain in the fire department. He's retired now, and he would give it to you straight. He would tell you, hey, there's a possibility this fucking building may fall down, or he would say, like Rob said, he would lay down, hey, I'm laying here. If I'm laying here, you should take that as it's good to go. And he was being asked every 5 minutes, hey, is it safe? Is it safe? Is it safe? And finally, he got a little, agitated, and he goes, is it safe? Look around. Look where we're at. Nothing here is safe. Nothing here is stable. Nothing here. But there are people trapped in this shit. And it's your job to get in there to get them the fuck out. I will do the best I can to keep you safe, but you're going to get in that hole. Somebody's going to get in that hole. And that's the way he looked at it. And he would guide us on what to do and how to do it. But there wasn't always assurance that we were going to come out, And Duke is a hard-nosed, old school fireman. And he believed that we're there to get those people out. And if we have to put our people in harm's way to get them out, then that's what we're going to do. The one, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of feedback on the show for this, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time, but I don't necessarily believe in the concept of it's our safety before the victim's safety. And I know that might sound bad. Now, I'm not going to put a member in trouble just to get him in trouble. Obviously, I'm going to do the things that a seasoned officer should do, but there's going to be times where it's not going to be safe and you need to get in there. I hate that. Well, scene safety, are we safe? I understand it, but sometimes you got to get in there and you got to do the things that are unsafe. That's what you took that oath for. That's what you get that paycheck for. And I'm tired of hearing, me personally, I'm tired of hearing it's our safety before the victims. I get what they're saying, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
And it's turned into a culture where, unfortunately, at least we're and the guys listening and the audience in the South Florida area needs to understand that we operate in an arena, whether it's in Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County, we're all South Florida firemen, where structure fires aren't like they used to be, or at least down in Broward and Dade, our building construction codes are different than the ones in Palm Beach. Our buildings, our kitchen fires stay kitchen fires, our room and content fires stay room and content fires. Very few times, depending on how old your buildings are, do we get these uncontrollable fire spreads from small type fires. We would consider small single line fires and single family residential shotgun shacks. Your typical construction. But at some point, we started promoting so many people in the South Florida area. This is my opinion alone, where the culture became this me first culture that we're preaching and pushing down company officers' throats. Every company officer classes, scene safety, 360 before you make the decision, RECIO, VES, and this, that, and the other, VEIS. We're adding acronyms to acronyms, and it's just blowing my mind how what Timmy just said. Timmy's a 27-year guy. We've spoken to a lot of 27-year guys. All of us have. We've had guys, retirees on this show the last couple of times that we've talked. And these members are on the same page with Timmy. It still is about them. Doesn't matter how many degrees we go to school for. I'm all for the education, the bachelors, the masters, the PhDs. Go get them. But this is still going to be a dirty blue-collar craft. You got to be good at your job. You have to be good with tools. You have to know the difference between a Phillips screwdriver and a flathead. You have to know the right way to use a Halligan. You have to understand building construction at some point. You have to understand what the fire is going to do next. These people depend on us. You said it earlier, Timmy. No one else is coming. You cannot, from a leadership position, somebody who's a company officer, I cannot manage risk from a position of fear. Because at that point, I'm losing that culture of interior aggressive, switch spaces with the people in pajamas and get in there with your $3,000 bunker gear. The reason that I'm fully encapsulated in the best gear that money can find is so that I can get there 3 a.m. and occupy that space and switch spaces with the people that dialed 911 who are sitting there in pajamas. Not walk around the house and find where the fire's at and put water through a window before I commit to going in the house. Yeah. Being aggressive is not a bad thing. Aggressive with irresponsibility, without getting a full grasp of the picture, with lack of experience, lack of training, it can get you into trouble. But if
you can be aggressive, you just don't have to be aggressive with reckless abandon. I'm all for it. Believe me, I'm all for aggression.
And I think that's the difference too. I think people confuse aggressive and recklessness. I think that's completely the problem. Like, oh, he's real aggressive. And it's like, no, he's reckless. There's a difference. Yeah. But going back to what you said in Haiti, like that is the calculated risk to the 10th power.
Yeah, I mean,
you're the only guy there, you and the engineer, and hopefully you guys are on the same page. And if not, I mean, you're going in anyways for the most part, and we're going to figure it out.
I could never imagine them at some point saying, "Okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up," and these people, it is what it is for these people. I could never imagine. I couldn't fathom that in my mind. And I'll be honest with you. For me, I've had major issues over the Haiti deployment, some PTSD issues, and some of the issues surround. I feel that we didn't do enough. We showed up with fucking all this gear and all these people, and there was just so much devastation that we just couldn't handle at all. And that's part, I have issue with that. And it came up again, when we were down in the Keys, and that it kind of triggered a bunch of stuff with me, because we showed up with all these guys, all these well-trained dudes and girls, and all these fucking trailers and boats and equipment, and we couldn't do shit when we got there, So Haiti was just, I can't even describe from a leadership position. That was the Grand Slam at the Yankee Stadium, or whatever team you like. It was from a leadership role. You got everything thrown at you all at once. From where are we going to sleep to, we walked up to the person that we were supposed to be in contact with there. They weren't a FEMA person. We walked up to them and said, Florida 2's here. We're ready for a mission. And we said, what do you want us to do? And she goes, look around, pick something, right? What do you want me to tell you? And we just started working. And Florida 1 was the same way. The guys who went for Virginia, when they showed up, were the same way. They just started picking areas and started working before they could get an infrastructure on how all the teams were going to work. But it was like, look around, pick something and fucking go to work and do what you do and, make a difference. And I feel we did that, but there are days where, not because it's anybody's fault, but I feel in my heart that, God damn it, we could have done more, but we couldn't. There was
I think that's our personality too. No matter what, we'll always feel that we can do more, and like you said too, like we weren't there, we don't know, and what you're feeling too. But I think that's a norm. And then being on that big of an arena, you almost have to think that,
Yeah. It was
rough. Absolutely.
Hey, I'll have a drink for you and Rob, man, for Haiti, man, because I know those are rough times. We still talk about it occasionally with Rob and all that, but I appreciate everything there, and I'm proud to be on that team.
We're proud to have you, brother. Timmy, let's stay on the subject. Are you cool with it?
Yeah. Anything's open, right, man. I told you that.
All right. The older we get on this job, the saltier we are, and I am by no means consider myself a salty fireman yet, but I consider you a salty fireman. You're just salty, period. It's a salty really human being.
It's such a facade. It's such a facade. I'm really not.
You're doing a good job.
Man, I've gave up all my tricks, man. I've gave up all my tricks on this show. Everybody knows I'm scared of snakes now. Everybody knows that I'm a big softy. You've ruined me, man.
I emailed everyone I knew about the snakes. They knew long before this.
There's people that still give me a hard time about them damn snakes.
I've been pretty open. I've been pretty open with my people around me. You and I have talked about this many times, Timothy, over the years, um, about my issues with the Haiti thing, and the older we get, the saltier we get, the more we had to dive into like that internal introspective and find out what makes us tick as human beings. As men, as fathers, as leaders in our firehouses, and at some point when we all got back from our deployments and all the calls that we've talked about in our careers, every single one of us, whether it's Herb or Greg or yourself or the people listening, we're constantly being exposed, and we've all heard this before, to situations that are abnormal, and we have abnormal reactions to them. Or if you talk to a therapist, we're having normal reactions to abnormal situations. Um, I myself have talked about it very publicly. I've seen therapists for it. I've put myself in therapy. At one point in my life, I was taking antidepressive medications, which made me feel even worse. That was something I had to get off of completely. So I know your struggles with PTS as well, and and I know your battle. We talked before. We talked during your treatments. We've talked at length afterwards. Uh, and I felt for you, bro, because I was there. And I'm still there. That never goes away. You just got to constantly work on being okay. Every day, you got to remind yourself that it's okay not to be okay. And there's certain things that trigger, whether it's a sight or a smell or a sound or a situation or a news story or the next deployment or the next call. And you start, you start going back to that moment, and you start getting those feelings of despair and anxiety. And we could have done this, we could have done that. And I just refuse to get on that roller coaster ride anymore.
You have to
So
refuse. You have to stop it right away.
once you get on that, you start riding that wave, it's going to take you where it wants to take you. So before, I was so caught up, and this is just my own story, and I hope it helps anyone listening. And then we'll get into you, Timmy. Before, I was so caught up on the why. Why do I feel this way? Why can't I feel normal? Why can't I this? Why can't I that? Why can't I not feel this? Why do I feel that? Instead of just telling myself that it was absolutely normal to feel the way I was feeling, and refuse to get on that ride. And through lots of therapy and lots of conversations with people like you and other of our brothers and sisters that have been through that process over the last couple of years, we've lost great firemen to suicide. We've lost great firemen to addiction. We've lost great firemen, brothers and sisters across the board over the last couple of years. And I know that you've dealt with a lot of your own issues. And if you're cool with it, for the people listening, for the younger members on here, like, talk to us about your story, about how you got to where you were and where you are today, bro.
All right. What I won't go into detail about is about the kind of impetus point in the deployment that I think really is what causes my PTSD and my problems. I don't want to get into that, but I will say, I said it earlier, I came back a different man. As soon as I stepped off that plane, I was a different man. And when I came home, usually that kind of the things we saw in Haiti and the things we did, usually it didn't bother me. Fire department stuff, you would see it every day. I mean, I worked in busy firehouses my whole career, ghetto firehouses my whole career. So I saw a lot of that stuff. So it didn't bother me, but somehow I came home and, I don't know, things just weren't the same. And after about 2 months of being home, I started to get bad dreams, and my sleep patterns started to really screw up. And I mean, like, bad dreams. I would wake up screaming, "The building's coming down. We got to get out." This and that. And I would try to wipe blood off my hands while I was sleeping. I would talk in my sleep. My sleep patterns were a mess. And my wife would tell me, "Hey, you did this," or the kids would say, "Dad woke us up because he was screaming," or I'd be on the couch and I'd find myself waking up screaming. The big thing was I refused to talk to anybody about it. I kept my mouth shut and I just kept going. Then another major incident happened in my life that really kind of put me on the downhill slide. In 2012, I fell like 32 feet from a ladder, a fireman that falls from a ladder. So I fell and I landed standing up in my neighbor's yard, and I completely destroyed my femur, my left leg, my femur. So I spent a bunch of time in rehab and in the hospital because I have all kinds of screws and rods in my leg. And I remember, I was telling a friend about this the other day. I remember, them taking me into the ER And I'm in pain, but I'm still kind of all fucked up in my head also about Haiti, about just everything in general. And I remember they pushed medication pain medication to make me feel better. And the first thing I remember was thinking, this is the way I want to feel for the rest of my life. This takes away everything. I don't have pain. I don't have bad thoughts, because it had been 2 years that I was struggling by myself, not saying anything to anybody. And I was starting to take prescription medication that I wasn't supposed to be taking early. But then 2012 happened, and I was given a prescription for it. So I started taking a little bit for the pain, and then the pain was not the pain anymore. Then it was, hey man, this makes me feel better, and I sleep, and I'm not in a bad mood, and I'm not having bad thoughts. So I take a little more and a little more and a little more. And before you know it, I was going to a pain management doctor, and I was asking for higher doses of medication. And before you know it, I was a full-blown addict. I was a full-blown opiate addict, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I call myself a junkie all the time, but right now I'm not, I'm working still towards being clean. I have, a couple of years clean now, and but I got on a bad road, and then so that from 2012, I battled with addiction and PTSD. It wasn't. They didn't no doctors told me, because I never talked to them, but I knew in my heart that I had PTSD. Well, that went all the way until I was fighting and taking drugs all the way until about 2017. November of 2017, I decided I've had enough. I'm going to end my life, just like all the other firemen before me. I have enough. I don't want to be in pain anymore. I don't want to be mental pain, and I don't want to be physical pain. I've had enough. And I just kind of sat for a week before. I like attention to detail, so I think everything I do I do this. But even my own suicide, I sat for a week, and I watched the interaction between my wife and kids. I watched the interaction between my wife and my mom, and I made the mental decision that they would be fine without me. It's a stupid ass decision, but at the time, in the mind space that I was in, I was more of a hindrance to them. I had lost my drive. I had lost my zeal. I had lost everything that made Timmy Gleason. I had lost, and I was basically a couch potato by then. So I had planned my suicide. I had everything planned, where it was going to be, how I was going to do it, everything done. And I had made the decision that it would be okay. My family would get on without me, and they would actually be in a better spot, So a couple days before it was actually going to happen, I had called out sick a couple times from work, and because I just didn't feel like even going to work anymore. And my captain, to his credit, at the time said, "This isn't right. Something's going on." And he was on, my shift was on duty, and he went and talked to the district chief and said, "Hey, something's not right here. Something's not going on." And they all showed up at my house, the captain and some members from my crew. And they knocked on the door. And when they knocked on the door, my first reaction, I wanted to get aggressive, because I kind of knew why they were there, And my captain looked at me, and, it was an emotional moment. And he looked at me and he said, "We're here to get you some help. Do you want some help?" And like I said, my initial reaction was to say, "Get the fuck off my porch," or whatever. But I looked at him and I started to cry, and I just said, "Yeah." By that time, I was a full-blown IV drug user. I wasn't doing heroin, but I was a full-blown addict by that time. And I was trying my best to hide it. And to be perfectly honest with you, most of the guys that I'm close with on the teams and at the station, they all knew. They all knew that I was in a bad spot. Maybe they didn't know the drugs I was using, but they knew I was using. They knew I was doing something, and they knew. I think some of them even knew that death was knocking on my door. And I think that's where we fall short in the service. I'm not saying to be a rat. I'm not saying to grab a guy and take him and say, "Hey, he's got a fucking drug problem. We need to do something." But I think we all have members that we know are in a really bad spot. And because of our culture, sometimes we either tell them, he either gets told, "Hey, suck it up and get on the fucking truck," or hey, that's your job, or hey man, yeah, I'm going through it too. Let's get on the truck and go. But we never really grab that guy or grab that girl and say, hey man, what's going on? I know something is going on with you. I noticed this. I noticed this. I noticed this. What the fuck is going on with you? I think that's where we fall short. And it pains me to see the suicide rate amongst first responders. I see it every day, and it's crazy. With the last 5 years, I've lost probably 10 friends, fire service friends, to suicide. I've lost fire service friends to addiction, accidental addiction, accidental overdoses because of addiction problems. It's a major fucking thing in the fire service, and it's not getting addressed. And I don't know really how. I don't know how to make it a global thing. I think it's got to start at grassroots. It's got to start at home, and I call it a mental mayday. We're big on you. All you guys have been on the departments long enough to remember when we started doing mayday training. I mean, I can actually remember doing. Okay, we're going to now call maydays, and I can remember, going through the training. And I got to tell you, all this PTSD, PTSD, suicide, addiction, all of it is a mental mayday. I suffer from it every day. Maybe you can't tell. Maybe you can't tell. Sometimes I stutter. Sometimes I'm lost for words. All that came after I dealt with all this stuff, after I dealt with Haiti, after I dealt with, addiction, after I dealt with my battles with PTSD. And, there are some things that happened with me. I did another podcast not too long ago, a PTSD podcast, and I stuttered like a mumbling jerk through the whole thing because I was so nervous. And that's a new thing for me. It's going to happen. The younger generation is going to come up on shit that they don't know how to deal with. And it worries me that we don't have anything in place as a service worldwide to help them. The younger generation in this fire service is different than our generation and different than the generation before us. We were fortunate in that when we all came on the job, we had guys that knew how to mentor. Some of the younger groups don't know how to do that, and I think they're not built for. Some of them are not built for how hard this job can be, and I think they blow it off and think that this is an easy job. Well, I can be a fireman. We got great vacation benefits. We got great medical benefits, and they get a rest day every 7 days. This is a great job for me, and I don't think they realize what they're getting into. And I really believe that this job is not for everybody. I have a saying that I say, it's called T-Safe, and it's this shit isn't for everybody, and this shit ain't for everybody. And I truly believe that. I feel we're getting inundated with people in this fire service that really don't understand what this job is about.
I really think we come up short on that. I couldn't agree with you more. 100%.
Did Rob get mad at me and leave?
No, we threw him off. We were tired of looking at him.
Hey, Timmy, real quick, man.
Hey, thanks for telling that story, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
There's really no reason to be ashamed about it. I mean, I wish it never happened. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
There are a lot of years spent that I could have been doing something else, and could have been a better person. But I think it's like anything else. I got past it, and it builds character. I mean, yeah, that's about all I can say.
Listen, I think you're a sweetheart, man.
Thank you.
So here's the thing with that, Timmy. It's to touch on that, because we've had myself and Greg had an individual in our department that was probably one of the most intelligent people you would ever meet in your life. Got in an accident, ended up having some pain management issues, got addicted to pain medicine, and we ended up losing him to an overdose. Mm-hmm. And without going into huge detail about it and all that good stuff, I feel as if maybe the guys kind of did him a disservice, because some of the guys knew but didn't really want to put it out there, due to the possible repercussions of what could be.
Yeah, we're really stuck between a rock and a hard place, because if we shine light on this guy may possibly lose his job,
Correct. So, and it's one of those things where it's like, you want to do the right thing by your brother or your sister by not hemming them up against the wall, not getting them in trouble.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, did we really do our job? Because the end result is you could lose your life.
Yeah.
So it's a huge thing, and it's, at least on my end, there's people in my family who deal with addiction. I've seen it growing up through it, and it's just one of those things where I don't care who you are, you can't say it's never going to happen to you, because I guarantee you, if I would ask Timmy Gleason before all the issues that transpired, you would have been like, no fucking way, dude, I'm good. That'll never fucking happen. I don't care how mentally strong you think you are. There potentially is something that is going to, that could trigger you, and lead you down a whole different route.
Absolutely.
And that's the problem that I feel that this new generation doesn't really understand. And just like you said, this shit isn't for everyone, and it absolutely is not for everyone. And hearing a guy like you, a guy who, not to blow your head up or anything like that, but you have the credibility. You have everything, is you are the fireman's fireman. So guys look at you as like, oh shit, if it can happen to him, it could happen to me. So you sharing that story, I think, has done more for other individuals than you even know.
Hey, so let me add something to that too, because 100%. I mean, Timmy, you and I have talked. I respect you to no end. We don't need to go into all that, fluffy stuff. We'll do that later, But let's talk about his officer and his crew that went to his house, banged on the door, and basically told him what was happening. To me,
I got to tell you, man, that was a brave fucking move. And
that is huge, because not to mention, you lose a friend, you lose a crew because they don't like you, they don't talk to you, they can't deal with it, whatever the case may be. But to me, and I'm not talking about just the officer, I'm talking about the entire crew. Those guys are true leaders, and I mean, without a doubt, and I could probably guess who a few of them were, but you guys have a really good department with that down there, and that kind of brings me up to the the Never Walk Alone program that you guys have down there. And I wish that I was closer to you guys. Now, granted, I drive down for my normal stuff that I need to do, but I wish I was closer, because I would absolutely be a huge part of that, because being ex-military, same concept, we're not going to go into that, but I have friends that have done the exact same thing for stuff way less than we have done and seen. And for whatever reason, everybody has their own reason why. That's another animal, but it's crazy to me, and that it comes to that, and then people won't step up. Guilty as charged, because the guy that Herbie's talking about, you're like, man, something's off with that dude.
Yeah, man.
He wasn't in my firehouse, he wasn't as close, but that's such a horrible cop out. So, like, hats off to the guys that came to your house, beating on your door, said, today's the day, my friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
However it went down,
And
that's money.
The truth of the matter is, they saved my life.
Absolutely.
Had they not come 2 more days, I was done. And listen, there was nothing at that point. There was nothing that was going to stop me. Now, my wife and kids, and I know that may sound very selfish, and people that say, well, when you kill yourself, it's selfish and this and that. Yes and no, I get it, because you pass on all that burden to the rest of your friends and family. But there was nothing that was going to stop me. I had a conversation. It was funny. I had a conversation with a chief from Orlando named Mike Stallings. I know Rob probably knows him. You guys might know him.
Good guy.
He had a very close friend on the Orlando Fire Department. Rob knows also that he took his life. And
another sad day.
I had a discussion with Mike, with Chief Stallings, about, he asked me, we had, I told him, we had a long conversation, and I told him that I had also prepared myself to go. And he said, let me ask you a question, man. What the fuck? What makes you, what are you thinking? What, can you give me some, blood and guts about how you're thinking at that moment. And I had to be honest with him. And I told him, I said, Mike, at that moment, you are in such a dark place that you just want the pain to end. And it's not only physical pain, it's mental pain. So I was, I was in a place where I was assured I was going to do it. And I'm a pretty stubborn fucking guy when I can be. And I was going to go. There was nothing that was going to stop me. And they came. And I will tell you, my crew is the crew I work with. We've been together now for the last probably 5 years. We've had great officers come through there. We've had great captains, great lieutenants. We've had some, that weren't necessarily should be there, and they ended up moving on to other stations and going and being good assets to other stations. So, but the privates, we call them privates, or the privates are the firemen that I've worked with. The crew that I have now, it's probably the best crew I've ever worked with in the history of my career, right? As far as fire department goes. And I will be honest, they're a big part of what keeps me straight. I made a promise to them. I sat down at the dinner table when I told them I was going for help, and I made a promise to them that I would seek help and that I would stay straight, and I have. And they're a big part of it. Chris Dudots, Bruno Fernandini's, David Rivera. My captain's name is Eric Rojas. They were big in Elizabeth Miranda's another one. She's a girl, but she's a fireman. She's more of a fireman than most men. They're a big reason why I stay straight. And, I know I haven't named my whole crew because I'm a little tongue-tied right now because I'm starting to get a little nervous, but they're the reason why I stay straight. I'm worried for the future of the fire service because I think the suicide thing is going to take off, and I don't know how we grab it and get a hold of it. Never Walk Alone started because of a suicide in my department, and it actually started because a member from the Miami Beach Fire Department that knew the member in my department did the Miami Marathon in his name. So one of our fire department members said, "Hey, we're City of Miami Fire Department, man. You're not going to walk alone. We're going to join you." And they started walking. Our guys and gals started walking for Danny, and in his honor, and it became a thing, and it's now being promoted in the department. And the biggest push is to, make PTSD noticed, get it on the board, let people start looking at it, because all of this addiction, suicide, all of it is encompassed within that. You're going to get the old guys that tell you, nah, fucking, he's just a drunk or he's just a drug addict. But I tend to think it starts early in your career and usually festers and then pops out towards the middle or the end. And that's kind of what happened to me.
Well, so that never walk alone statement, man. I don't really want to name drop, but she's a chief now, Chief Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I kind of saw that from, and I'm like, all right, let me check into.
She's actually the one that started it, and she went to our it's sponsored by our benevolent program in the department, and she's kind of the arm of that. She's on the benevolent board, but she does the never walk alone stuff.
So I looked at that and I'm like, yeah, let me look at this, plus, it's at that time it was all right. She's on my squad, let me look at some Yami pictures. You can never miss those pictures too much. So I'm looking at them, and I'm like, all right, this is a pretty powerful statement, man. Let me check it out. And I started looking into it, and I want to say 45 minutes later, I was done looking. I'm like, look at these guys, man. Look, I mean, this is what it's about. This is brotherhood. This is looking out for your own. So to add to that, a close friend of ours, and he works with us too, Justin Strickland. He's the vice president. He's an Immokalee guy. He's the guy that chimed in. He's a vice president of Hook a Hero, and his same thing is the mission to make it's a national thing to help the guys, first responders and military alike. So this guy is a fishing guide and turkey connoisseur of some sort, but one of the coolest guys I know, and he dedicates him and his crew. I don't know exactly who they are. I just know he's the VP. He dedicates a lot of time to that. So I think that if Chief Diaz, congratulations to her, by the way, but Chief Diaz and Strickland get together and they push this Hooky Hero and all that, and they make it big. I have a feeling that with the people that are running it, I think it would be massive. And I think we could start at the South Florida, and it would become a virus just like everything else on the way up, and we would start creating some positive attributes of it.
Well,
That's my hope. And I would be willing to, I know Herbie and I would be willing to do whatever we had to do to keep it up in this area and push it north and do whatever it takes, man.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure
so
she'd be interested.
So to add on that, Timmy, it's because you brought up a point. I've only been in the fire service for 17 years. And I remember when I started, you never went back to the station, talked about a call. You never talked about anything that happened. Because if you did, it was a fucking pussy. Man the fuck up. We'll go drink beers in the parking lot tomorrow. You're fine. But there comes a time where, as a generation, we have to evolve, because not everyone is a Greg Rogers, a Timmy Gleason, a Rob Ramirez, or Herb Tyler, whatever the case may be. Everyone handles issues differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
So talking about things is not a bad thing. Whereas when I came in the fire service, you weren't allowed to talk about things.
Right.
If you talked about a call, you were a bitch.
Yeah.
And listen, we'll go drink about it, you'll forget about it tomorrow.
Yeah.
That might work for certain individuals.
Yeah,
That's not going to work for everybody. And more than anything else on this podcast, all your USAR stuff and everything, I think, guys, hearing someone that has went through it and telling people, hey, listen, it's okay to get help. I think guys need to hear that, because I truly feel, and I'm telling you from my own personal experience, it was never taught to ask for help.
Right.
You were never told to, if something's bothering you, ask for help. No. Hey, kid, go fucking have a drink. Figure it the fuck out. Stop being a bitch. So hats off, man. It's I truly appreciate you sharing that story. I know it takes a lot.
Well, I kind of actually feel bad. I feel like, that I kind of put a dark cloud over the podcast.
No. Hey, because
that's what it's about, man.
But I will tell you this: if we're able to reach one person tonight, maybe a guy that's sitting there after a 6-pack of beer and realizing that he doesn't want to be around anymore. If we reach one guy tonight, then we've done our job. I've done my job.
No, and that's what it's all about.
I will tell you this from a fireman's perspective and a guy that's gone through it. I think it starts in the firehouse, and it starts at that kitchen table. You get a run that's bad. I mean, listen, we run bad runs every day, but I'm talking about the ones that are going to do damage. The kids, the really fucked up people, the burns, whatever. Get back to the station, and what I like to do is I go to the captain and ask permission. I go, hey, can we do a little debrief here? And what I personally do is I usually try to lead it with I ask the captain if I can take lead, and I usually try to lead it with, all right, let's talk about what we did that worked. Let's talk about what we did that's bad. And while we're doing this, I kind of tend to look around and see what reactions I'm getting out of people. And you'll realize, after you've done this multiple times, you'll realize the guys that are struggling, or maybe struggling. And I usually try to go to them on the side and say, hey, what's going on? Fortunately, I got a bunch of great guys, and they help me most of the time, but that's something that could be done, that could be started at the firehouse level, that could maybe help. Start it with a small debrief. You could even add in there, hey, this is a safe. The thing is, when you do all of this, the key to this is trust. If you guys trust each other, then you can sit there and go, hey, this fucked me up. Seeing that kid fucked me up. Now, if you don't trust the people that you're working with, and you know that they're going to run around and talk about all the shit that you dump out, then you don't have a good crew, in my opinion. You got to be comfortable with your crew, and they got to be comfortable with you. If you have that camaraderie, then I would say throw out the, hey, anybody, there's anything that bothers anybody about that run that we can talk about, maybe relieve some of it. Put together a peer CISM group in your department. We have one in the city. We do pretty well with it. They run a pretty good program where if something major comes in, they call the chief that's on duty, and they send a couple guys that have taken the training to be peer counselors, and we go over there and we do debriefs and we do follow-ups, and I think it helps. I mean, a guy that's been through it, it's funny, I never sat in a formal debriefing. I mean, I guess I did when we came home from Haiti, but it was a little unique. The debriefing was a little unique, but I don't even think I realized it. I don't think I realized it early on that I was affected, and I think I was affected right away over there. So getting some type of debrief is pretty important, and that can be done by you guys. You guys are company officers. You're respected officers in your department. You run a call that turns to shit. Ask your chief for a little bit of out of service time and talk to your guys and say, hey, did any of this bother you guys? It's okay to step up.
Hey, I want to say, as a company officer, I'm going to sit here and tell you that I do that, but I think that my doing that is, hey man, are you guys good? Yeah. Are you sure? Yeah. Okay, let's go. I don't think I do it good enough. You know what I mean? I definitely fall short of that. Guilty as charged. So
Right.
I'm definitely gonna look at that a little bit. And why we're sitting here talking about it, and this is no exaggeration, I could show you my phone. I have five messages from Messenger and 6 text messages from other people talking about Never Walk Alone and Hooky Hero sound like great programs.
Yeah.
How do we get in touch? So, Timmy, if you can plug, and I'm going to be reaching out to Miss Yamali Diaz. How do we get involved up here and run it north? So run it up this direction. But if you can, how do we get a hold of Never Walk Alone? And then I'll push the Hooky Hero from there. And
what I would say that, man, I would definitely, for you, Greg, get in touch with Yami Diaz. On Instagram and Facebook, there is, they have social media. You can instant message them through there. I'm not sure with Never Walk Alone. I'm not sure that Yami takes personal emails for that. So, and I don't believe there's an email platform for that, but, I'll send you her information when we get off, and you can look it up. And then if she wants to post it wide, nationwide or whatever you guys are talking about, then she can go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I'll get in touch with her, and we'll talk about it off the air. But I'll get in touch with her and see what can we do. You know what I mean? Like, how do we help?
She puts a lot of time into that program. It's dear to her heart. Danny was a close friend of hers, and
right.
The whole program started because of Danny Alvarez. And
yeah.
The Alvarez family's pretty heavily involved in the program, and tomorrow a bunch of guys are going fishing. Never Walk Alone is hooking up with a not-for-profit organization called Wet Vet, and Wet Vet is run by a guy named Ozzy Martinez, and he's a retired Marine, disabled vet. And what he does is he takes guys out fishing, disabled vets out fishing. Well, him and Yami approached him, and they got together, and from what I understand, they decided to put this together. And tomorrow a bunch of guys are going fishing for 9/11, and in honor of 9/11, and guys that have struggled with PTSD and struggled with addiction. And there's a bunch of boats going, and there's 2 or 3 guys to a boat, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hopefully the weather stays up, but that's the first kind of stepping stone event that Never Walk Alone has done. It does the Miami Marathon every year, and the members come out, and it started with 3 or 4 people, and last year we had 240 people 240 first responders walked in the
at least like 240, 250, and I was limping for a month.
So it's growing, and it's becoming a positive thing, and the whole thing is there to shed light on PTSD. And I know from an organizational standpoint, Never Walk Alone they're putting together a resource list, and just a resource list for PTSD, for suicide prevention, for addiction. They're trying to put together a pretty good program. So if anybody's got a problem, they can ask and be handed a bunch of material. It's kind of hard because it's a benevolent sponsored function. I don't want to say we don't get help from the department. We do, but it's just one of those things that it's new, and we're trying to get it going, and I think it's gonna take off, man, and it's gonna be a good running program.
So Never Walk Alone, Facebook and Instagram, and I know Hook a Hero is hookahero.com, and they're also on Facebook and Instagram too. So good stuff, man. We'll hook that up, and then me and Herbie will talk off the air.
I'm sure.
Hey Rob, so what do you got? I know you got some stuff you want to add in on this as well.
Yeah, I just want to go ahead and chime in real quick. I was gone for a few minutes, and you guys covered a lot of cool things, and I just want to make sure that we all are on the same page as company officers, firemen, and guys in leadership positions within our firehouses. The best way that guys like Timmy, myself, and people that you guys have mentioned that have dealt with a certain level or layer of this recurring issue in the fire service, where Herb, you talked about the fire service that we all grew up in, the giants whose shoulders we all stand on today for our individual agencies, the guys that raised us, for lack of better terms. How it wasn't okay not to be okay. You came back to the firehouse, you sucked it up, you talked about it, you were soft, you dealt with it over a beer, if you dealt with it at all. You really couldn't talk about it at the kitchen table because you were labeled as, this is not for everybody. I mean, you might be in the wrong line of work, kid. So as company officers, and myself, I'm guilty. I know Greg Rogers mentioned it earlier. We've all done that before. Hey kid, you're good after the call. You run the bad call, you come back, within a normal call, you identify it as something that could create some turbulence, and we received no training in human resources. So we're like, yeah, hey, listen, I know I got to ask him. Hey, are you okay? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, Capper. I'm good, Lou. All right. Are you sure you're okay? You're good to go? Should I get anybody out here? Are you guys all good? Everybody's good. And it's business as usual. And I think most of the time when we did that growing up, the first time that we were put in that position as leaders or as senior members, and we had that type of call, it's because what do you say if they say no? We were never trained as to what the next step is.
It's a tough spot to be in. I mean, you can't sit around the firehouse and sing Kumbaya all day. At some point, you got to get to work. And if they tell you no, kind of it's no, until you ask them again. And a lot of it too, Rob, falls on the member. At some point, they need to decide when enough is enough. And you hit the key word when you said you haven't had training in it. I think maybe this is something, that should be put into officer training and should put into firefighter training as a whole. Hey, this is, when you start feeling this, it's possibly this. You do a great job in your survival program talking about the different parts of the brain and how they trigger different things and stress-induced chemicals and all that. That happens when you're in a PTSD environment, that you're dealing with what you talk about. Everything that you talk about in that PowerPoint, that's what a person that is in PTSD, a PTSD thing is going through. And they live their life every day like that. Now they come to the firehouse and now they get a call where maybe they do get trapped. Imagine what their levels go up to then, because they're already operating in the yellow every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's
and I think training is the key. I think they need, we need to start introducing some of this training into officer training, into firefighter development training.
Well, and that's one of the things, Timmy, it's that you brought up, because we have had it at our department, and I don't want to put blame on anyone or anybody, because the individual that we're talking about, I did work with them a lot. But everyone was scared to say something. And the fact of the matter is, in my heart, I truly believe he still would have been here if someone would have had the balls to say something. But the problem is no one wanted to say anything due to the fact that they didn't want to hem the guy up.
Yeah.
So there comes a time when what's the right thing? And you know what? The right thing is, hey, let's get this guy some help.
Absolutely.
But
At the end of the day, I think I'm trying to figure out how to say this without, I think at the end of the day, we're doing the brotherhood a disservice if we don't step in and try to get this guy some help. If we sit around the table and when he walks away, we all talk about him and go, "Hey, man, that guy is he's fucking high right now," because you know that it's going to happen. If we do that and fall back on the, well, I don't want to be a rat. I'm not saying be a rat. I'm saying go and figure out a way to get the guy some fucking help. That's where the brotherhood happens.
So I'm gonna play a little bit of a devil's advocate too. So some of the people that were at this guy's station, that is a very hard, sensitive, walking the line, gray
you can cause
area.
The guy to get fired if you go and ask for help.
And not to mention, let's just say if you're completely wrong, let's be selfish for a minute. If you're completely wrong, you just trashed yourself.
Absolutely. It's a tough spot.
It is. And that's what I'm getting at. I'm not saying, if you do something and you say something and you're kind of a jerk off for 6 months or 8 months or a year, and then it does go and help the guy. Well, you know what? You sucked it up for 8 months. Everything's fine. The dude got help and we're good. But if you say something and you're completely wrong, then what does that do to you? But then if you don't say anything and it goes the other route, it's an absolute shitty position. You know what I mean? So in their defense, I'll say that, but I think now
I can tell you with 100% certainty that my crew coming to my house saved my life. They legitimately saved my life. That was a save.
And not everyone's that tough.
Right.
That was your routine, bro.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be honest, I don't thank them enough about it, but because it's a funny topic to talk about, we don't talk about it. But being in a situation like you're talking about where maybe you don't know, maybe that's something where you grab a couple of the guys that he's close to at the firehouse and you go to his house or pull him aside and go, "Hey, man, we know something's going on."
Right.
We're all hard asses and we all want to be tough. But when somebody confronts you like that with general help when you're in trouble, chances are they're going to say, "Yeah, I got this issue."
Yeah. And I think
maybe
got a
not.
mob.
Maybe not. Maybe they may tell you, "Hey, get the fuck out of my face." But some of their responsibility, honestly, falls on the member too. If he's got a problem and people approach him and say, "Hey, I want to get you help," the responsibility falls on him. An addict is responsible for being an addict. They're the ones that are choosing to do what they're doing. There's some other people that believe that there's a chemical process involved, and it's.
But hats off to you too, man.
But,
hats off.
They have some responsibility too that they have to maintain, and if they don't want help, they're gonna fucking die eventually.
Right, but hats off to you too. That when they did come there, you deep down inside, you knew you could trust these guys. You knew they were there for the right reason, and they probably were big and didn't look like they were taking no for an answer too. If I'm just throwing it out.
A couple of them were, but I can hold my own. I'll bite a nose off if I have to.
Yeah.
But my initial reaction was to say, "Hey, get the fuck out of here," and I couldn't. I at that point I knew, hey, it's too much. It's too much.
Perfect.
Hey, it was the best case scenario, Timmy, and we appreciate you sharing that story for real, man.
Yeah, man. One person, I'm happy.
So we're getting a bunch of questions. We got a guy from up north who submitted a question that he wants you to answer.
Okay.
It says, "I'm an officer of a 2-man station with a guy fresh out of fire school.
Oof.
Any advice on how to train or direct him while still maintaining the scene?"
On your downtime, you got to fucking drill. You got to. That kid is gonna hate him, but he's got to go over every fine detail. He's got to be pulling hose. He's got to be showing him different doors and how to force them. He's got to be showing him how to do a walk around and what to look for on a walk around. He should be talking to him about what he's looking at on arrival when he's showing up on scene and pulling up on scene. looking at the roof line. What's the roof line doing? Is there any power lines? Where to park the truck? The engine. Do I pull past it and get a 3-side view? Do I park directly in front? Where do I park that engine? If I park it past it, am I going to be able to stretch? This kid should be doing something every day. This officer should pick 1 or 2 topics. You pick 5, 6 topics, you're going to burn the kid out, and you're going to get burned out yourself. Pick 1 or 2 topics every shift on your downtime. Go hit a strip mall. This is how we're gonna do it. Go into your bedroom communities. This is how we're gonna fight a fire here. Go into your better areas. Look at these doors. This is how we force this door. This is how we do that. This kind of car we cut here. If we see hinges, do we cut them or do we spread them? All kinds of shit. Jump around, vehicle extrication, firefighting. He should be drilling this kid every day. That's what I would do. And I would have him on my hip on scenes. He would be attached to me at my hip.
So, I agree with Timmy. That's a tough situation.
I've been in that situation. It's hard. It's really hard.
And I think if he's
back to the 2 guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if he's second or third or fourth in on a fire or something, and they don't really get a job or anything, and they're just kind of there, hey, they're going to take up equipment. That's when you do another walk around. Hey, This is what they did. This is what we're going to do. Grab
that officer and say, hey, can you give us a quick brief rundown of what you did? We're going to do a walk around of the building.
Absolutely.
Maybe he's, let's talk about him being first in. Let's face it. There are only so many things he's going to be able to do with a 2-man crew. That officer's got to realize what his strengths are and what he's going to be able to do. And he's going to have that kid attached to his hip. And when they show up on scene, listen, this is what we're doing. Maybe it's a event enter and search thing and waiting for the next engine to get there. I don't know the situation, but he should realize, what it is he can and can't do and his limitations. I mean, you're not going to be able to conquer the world with 2 guys. It's going to be tough.
No, absolutely. So I'm going to try to get some of the questions answered. So I'll read it out to you guys from Chief Pingle, Fort Lauderdale. He goes, what do you guys think about the change in our station life? Culture of solo bunks, smartphones, lack of fellowship. Has it removed the unintentional incident de-stressing that used to happen 20 years ago?
Absolutely.
Just from socializing with each other genuinely. Has it removed the ownership in each other's livelihood?
Absolutely. 100% I agree with the statement. Or if it's a question, I'm going to call it a statement. It's dead on balls accurate as far as I'm concerned. Smartphones, iPhones, I fucking hate them because they've taken away everything as human beings, in my opinion, that we do. Anything to do with fellowship, they take it away. Sit back at your station or the next day you're on duty and sit down at lunch or dinner. And when the meal's finished, watch what happens. Everybody takes out their phones. Everybody's on their phones all the time. They're scrolling. They're on Instagram. They're on Facebook. They're on this. They're on chat rooms. But we're not talking to each other. I used to teach with another company, and there was an officer in that company from Austin, Texas. And he said when they sat down from dinner, what they would do is, all right, take your phone out. And they'd put it in a box in the middle of the table. Yeah. And that took balls as an officer in that firehouse to tell the guys, put your phones in this fucking box and we're going to have fellowship.
I angered quite a few people when I used to be at Station 4. Yeah, I had we called it the phone box.
Yep.
And obviously I had Florida State stickers all over it and all that, but I'd put it down. And when I do morning meeting and right after meals, we would throw it in there. Yeah. The house I'm at now, I feel like we're pretty good, but once they start getting on their phone, I look around and there's 3 or 4 more people, whatever. I get up, put my plate away, I'll walk away. Sometimes they don't know I walk away. Sometimes they call me out and then I sit back down. Yeah. But yeah,
sometimes it takes the dickhead to go, hey, put the phone away.
It's so not to give my boy Greg any credit because I'm just not going to give him any credit. So when he got promoted captain, I was on his crew.
Uh-huh.
And the first couple times,
supervisor nightmare too, by the way.
I was at the time in the house.
He made you better.
So I'm on my phone, and I would see him give me this fucking look, And then one day he comes in, literally like 2 shifts later, this nice fucking custom little box.
Good for you.
I sit down, I pull my phone out, he goes, looks at me, goes, put your fucking phone in the box. I go, what? He goes, okay, if you don't put your phone in the box, you can go eat dinner out in the bay.
Good for you.
It was, at the moment, I thought, I was like, man, this fucking asshole.
This guy's out of his fucking mind. Yeah.
That doesn't sound like anything I would do, bro. I think this is a made-up story.
It was the best thing that I've ever seen, because now you take that phone out of play.
Yeah.
Now you have to communicate with everybody.
Yeah. Dude, look around at a restaurant. Well, look what's happening. Families are sitting at tables in restaurants, and none of them are talking to each other.
He still gets on me to this day. He'll be like, if we go out to dinner, we just went out to lunch the other day. I'm literally on my phone, and I was actually texting Rob.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at me, goes, hey,
put it down.
We're at lunch. I was like, fuck, dude.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I put my phone in my pocket. I was like, all right, dude, I get it. I'm sorry. I apologize. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
but
Chief Pingle hit it. It's the truth.
Listen, his question's on point. His question's on point. His question actually, he looked at the first part. I never heard Aiden debate once just to prove a point. Hey, so Garrett's on point. A lot of the stuff that like going real, just for 1 second back to everything we talked about and covered on PTSD. I mean, you talk about, hitting the nail on the shiny head. Us as company officers and even the senior leaders in the house, the informal leaders, you got to create relationships. Anytime I get that question in an interview or somebody asks you that stupid, proverbial question, give me 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. My greatest strength is relationships. I can create relationships. It's something that doesn't come very difficult for me. It's a seamless process. I create friendships. I create people. I talk to my members. If we as company officers do not create those relationships with these people, we cannot do that deep dive with them. We're always going to be surface swimming. We're always going to be that guy that says, hey, are you okay after the call? Hoping they say yes, so we can just surface swim right across it and not have to dive deep into the why and the how. Because if I walk up to a stranger in the street and I tell him, hey, dude, how you doing? Are you all right? You look like shit. You don't look right to me. I'm either going to get punched in the face or the guy's going to walk away from me because I'm a stranger. Like, who am I? But if I walk up to someone I have a relationship with who trusts me, there's that T word. He trusts me. And I tell him, hey, let's talk. You look like shit. How'd that call affect you? Is everything all right? And if that person knows that I'm a safe space as a company officer, because I've created, I've invested time in them by putting the phones down, by talking to them and getting to know them as a person. I know who their wife is. I know how work is. I know how their kids are. I can have that doors open for me to do that deep dive with them, so I don't stay surface swimming the entire time. I want to be able to talk to my members and know that they're not okay, and then let them know that it's okay not to be okay. And you also can't be there being, hey, dude, I've been there before, or I know what you're going through, or hey, we'll talk about it tomorrow. I need you to get back on the truck. Just sit there and fucking listen.
Listen, that's all you got to do.
Create the relationship. Put the phones down. Get to know them, and that's going to open so many opportunities for you to dive deep and be that company officer and be that manager of human beings. The hardest part of our job as leaders in the fire service is the house, their house where they live, and the firehouse we work at. Not the calls. We'll figure that shit out. Once we get to a fire, I've said it a million times, work makes everything better. I don't care if you're voting left or you're voting right. I don't care the color of your skin or the creed of your religion. We get on the job, everybody feels better after the job. But you're sitting around the firehouse and you're dealing with human beings. And a huge part of dealing with human beings, like Garrett said, you got to put those phones down, create relationships so you have that opportunity to do those deep dives with your members. Otherwise, we're going to keep losing people. We're failing them at the level you said, Timmy.
Yeah. And he mentioned the personal, everybody has their own room. I don't think we'll ever get away from that because of now, the push, not the push, but now we're getting a lot of women in the fire service, and so the commingling of bunks, I don't think is going to happen anymore. But that's a big one too. And I'll be honest with you, 100% honest with you. I have fallen into that trap more than once. It's easy to just get up and go to your room and fucking close the door and wait for the bell to ring and lay in bed and sleep or watch TV or what you're going to do. again, some of the responsibility falls on you, but if we're a close crew and the guy's gone for a while, if he didn't say, man, I'm wrecked, I need fucking sleep or whatever, go knock on the door. Hey man, we're doing a drill in the bay, or hey man, we're washing this truck, or hey, we're watching the show. Go get him, get his ass out. My guys have approached me and said, on times you check out sometimes and you go to your room. We would like to see you more on the station, and I'm making a big push to do that. I fall into that trap, and I think segregating rooms like that is I think we have to do it, but I think it's a bit of a problem. And if you're a close crew and you know each other and you trust each other, go knock on the door. Hey man, everything okay? That could be a way in too. You notice a guy who's going to his room all the time and he's not hanging out with the crew, something's going on. Whether it's somebody that he's close with, go knock on the door.
Yeah, I have it. I have it a little unique.
Hey, you guys want to say hi to my mom? Hey, mom.
Hey, Marianne Gleason, how are you doing?
Hi, Marianne. Hey, Marianne. We love her.
11,000 people are looking at you right now. That's Mom Gleason.
No, she's a doll.
Is she making some shepherd pie right now? Because we're on our way down.
I think so.
Nice.
I'm gonna slide into her DM.
The
Time and have dinner.
She said you can come over anytime and have dinner.
Perfect.
I heard her. She's beautiful.
So I have it kind of unique at my station to where my senior man is my driver, and he's pretty quiet and everything, but he's not afraid to kind of call someone out. And when he does, because he never really calls people out.
Right.
But then I also have a person in my station who keeps the positive attitude for everyone, and she just happens to be a female. So it's like yin and yang. And then I feel like I run the firehouse, but I'm not really sure if I do. But things get done and things make it happen. And then when it's good, they come to me, hey, thanks. And I'm like, oh yeah, sure. No problem. And I have no idea what they're talking about. And then the same thing, they'll come in and they'll ream my ass. And I'm like, all right, cool. I appreciate it. I have no idea what they're talking about, but I take them both for the grain of salt because I know they're doing good or they're messing up so they can hammer me, or I'm not really sure what's going on. But I take it on both sides, and then I go talk to them like, hey man, what's going on here? And then it explains. But going back to the table, when I say something kind of about the phone, like, all right, I'm out of here, man, you guys have a nice day. They're like, no, we'll put it away. So then we talk, and it goes another 30 minutes about aimless nonsense that's 100% important.
Yeah, absolutely. It builds the bonds, man. It builds the bonds, and that this is our house. That mentality has got to be had. And when you sit down at that table, that is family time. That we're breaking bread with each other. We're talking about stories. We're learning about each other. That is a must-have in the fire service, and I fear that it's kind of going away, and it scares me.
Hey, Timmy, what's your take on wearing a hat at the table?
It doesn't bother me. I've worked with officers that make me take it off. I guess it's just what you're used to. I know you're going to get pushback from members if you tell them to take off their hat, but it doesn't bother me. I wear a hat a lot because I don't have great hair like Rob. I used to have great hair like Rob.
Or Herbie.
It's going away. I'm getting closer to Herbie than I am Rob. So
that is an absolute pet peeve where I feel like I want to fling my plate across the table because of something that I heard from an old military buddy long time ago. So when I see people there, I flat out just say, hey man, you got to take your hat off of the table. Like I would rather you text and be partly in my conversation than wear a hat at my table. You know what I mean?
Everybody's got their thing.
Yeah, that's my funny thing, right, Herb?
Yeah, Herb is
Herb,
on silent.
You're muted, bro. You're muted. Hit the mute button, dude. Come on. It's your first day.
Hey, so
JV move, bro.
I'm gonna start with Rob, and then we'll work our way. We'll work our way
This
around.
guy ever been on a podcast before, bro, or what?
I remember my first podcast.
Hey Rob. So, exactly. Hey, Rob, bro, I'm gonna fire you right now, dude.
You don't say that to Rob.
Hey,
you don't say that to Rob, dude. You're crossing the line right
hey, Rob,
now.
Hey, so let's start with this, and then we'll go to Greg, and we'll go to Timmy. Where do we draw the line between being the officer and then taking it too far into trying to be best friends with that person?
Oof.
How do you
Man,
put that line in the sand?
Thank you. You just kicked me in the nuts for my first podcast. I really appreciate it. That's a very hard question. I got to be honest.
I'll talk real quick. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't.
I'm sorry, Timmy. You want to take the floor, Timmy, or you want me to go?
Hey, you're
What's
not
that?
on mute like Kirby.
What'd you say,
Hey,
Rob?
hey, Timmy, you want to start?
No. Let Rob.
All right.
I've actually given this question some thought, and we didn't prepare for any of this, guys. So if anybody watching, we're flying from the freaking hip right now. The fire service is very unique because the people that we manage are the people that we grew up with. These are the guys and girls that we sleep right next to. At least, the first half of my career, we had open bunks. And later on, now the last, 9 years, we started getting stations with individual rooms. But the firehouse that I'm in now, up until 7-8 years ago, we all slept in the same room. So you grow up with these people. You get hired as 20-year-old kids. You meet their girlfriends. You go to their weddings. You go to their kids' birthdays and baptisms or bar mitzvahs, and you move on through your life with these people. You break bread with them. We talked about breaking bread, and then one day you go from buddy to boss, and now you get all these expectations that are put on you, and you understand the tactics and strategies and company officer expectations of the fire service. But the human part is very unique because now you're responsible for leading people that up until a couple of days or weeks ago, you grew up with, slept next to, and broke bread with. I think you can still be a leader. This is just my opinion. I think you can still be a very solid leader, tactically and at the firehouse, and still maintain a relationship with your members. Messing that relationship up or going too far or crossing the line is on the member, not on you as a company officer. And those boundaries, if we have that relationship, can just be talked about. If I'm the company officer and the member assigned to me is someone I grew up with, and he's been on the job the same time as me, I'm going to still treat him like that person. And I expect the same in return. I'm still Rob until the bell rings. When I come out of the office and I say, hey, we got to do this, that, the other, inventory, equipment, the firehouse, we got a visitor coming at 11, we got a drill at 2 o'clock, I expect them to say cool and facilitate it for me, not be an obstacle in the progress of the firehouse and the company's development. Because I do the same for him. Because at some point, loyalty matters. And I'm going to maintain that loyalty with them. But we have to create those boundaries, unfortunately, that it's up to them to cross. I know I'm not going to cross it while we're on duty, but there are certain levels, and like you just mentioned, Herb, how far is too far? There isn't a black and white answer for the question. It's up to the individual who you're leading, the subordinate that you're in charge of, and I hate using that word, the person that you're serving, I like to say, because we talked about servant leadership in podcasts before, and I think the more you promote, the more people you serve. And as a company officer, I serve 5 people and sometimes 6. And those guys, I take pride in the way that I serve them. I take pride in the fact that I have relationships with them. I take pride that I know their likes and dislikes. I take pride that I know what they did the day before they were on shift. I take pride knowing when their vacation starts, what their goals are, what their aspirations are, what their promotability is, what they want to take the next step in their professional career, the next step in their personal life. I take pride in knowing that for my members. That just works for me. That works for Rob. It may not work for everyone, but that works for me. And I've very rarely have I had a company or a firehouse where I don't go out of my way as the leader of the firehouse, the system leader, because I have the bugles, to make and create those relationships. If they choose not to, it's on them. And if they choose to cross those boundaries, it's on them, and I'll have to rein them back in. That's my answer.
What I got. What about you, Greg?
All right, so never been invited to anyone's wedding and have no friends in my fire service. So that's pretty simple. So that's pretty easy to go with. But so I feel like I have this, I don't know, I don't want to say gift, but let's call it a gift for a deal that I can separate friendship and boss. So when I'm the boss, I'm the boss. There's shit that needs to be done that's on my plate. It happened. Herbie will attest to this. So me and Herbie have a unique relationship. When we work NRC, we're together. He's the number one guy. I'm the number two guy. When we're at work, I'm the number one guy. He's the number two guy. But so, like I told a friend many years ago, I got promoted probably a year before him for every rank, lieutenant, captain. I started stepping up to battalion chief before him and all that. But I had one talk with him. I'm like, listen, man, if we're friends, I should never have to be your company officer. You should want me to succeed. You should want to have my back. So when I move up or don't move up and you move past me, I'm going to do the same thing because I'm going to remember that. So to me, that was always a big thing. And it only took him one or two times we had this talk and he got it. And he had my back. And I really appreciate that. And he's on my shift. He's a captain on my neighboring district and everything. And we have a great relationship. Society likes rank. So when you go out into the public and things are going and they're stretching lines and, like they want to blame somebody and they walk up to the first fireman. Well, that might be the 9-month guy. He doesn't know what to say. He might panic. They want to know who's in charge so they can either thank someone or yell at them or somebody's going to be held accountable. I'm okay with that. That's what we get paid for. I'm down with taking that beating every day. And that also goes when you're in the firehouse and someone comes in and they're pissed off, whatever. The firehouse is not clean. The trucks aren't done. You know what? That's my bad. I apologize for that. It won't happen again. Then you go deliver to the crew. But I have a unique situation too. I have 11 people in my firehouse. One of them is my fire chief. One of them is my EMS captain. And then the 8 others are my crew. There's 9 of us. So I care what my EMS captain says because he's of rank and all that. But, he does his own thing. He's in charge of all the rescues. Nothing that is an issue, a problem, banter, bicker, whatever, crosses the hallway into the chief's office unless I want it to cross. If he hears something, my chief's really good. And I want to say majority of the battalion chiefs in my department are pretty good about, they might hear something they weren't supposed to hear. So they just kind of dismiss it until you come to them. Yeah. So they know their role, and I appreciate when they stay in their lane. Let them happen. But when they do want to come in, that's when shit goes awry. And then it's like, well, you got to put them on paper, and now it's an argument, and I'm not trying to jam this guy up and all that. But the big thing for me is being at an op station when we do have training, or we do have to, hey, this hose load sucks, or we're going to throw ladders a different way, is to get with the crew, listen to what they're saying, and kind of go with, all right, you know what? I don't really hear what you're saying, but if you sell it to me, I'm in. I'll go to the boss and we'll start changing that shit every day. Period. We'll do it. And we've done it. My shift personally at our station, crew doing most of the work. So I wish I could sit here and take all the credit, rah, 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 but crew doing most of the work. We have specifically changed a few items in our fire service, in our fire department, of what needs to be done. And I think it's been extremely positive. Yeah, you have your naysayers, whatever. They do whatever it takes. But I think that's a big deal. You know what I mean? And that's the way I look at it. And I'm still waiting to be invited to somebody's wedding, by the way, because no one ever invites me.
Well, so we can get the 3 officers' opinions, but now let's jump at Timmy. Being that senior man in that firehouse, your job more than anything, you're buffering most of the shit before it gets to the company officer. So there's more. And realistically, if you're a good senior man, you're buffering more shit than the company officers even know about. Your job is, as a senior man, realistically, and if you're doing it correctly, you're doing more than probably the company officers is. Because you're dealing with the personnel and you're dealing with all the bullshit way before the company officer even sees it. So it goes back into that senior man talk that we talk about. But even as a senior man, where does that fine line stop as being buddy to the point that, yeah, we want to go surfing together tomorrow, but yet when we're on a call, it's a Timmy and whatever, and you're stepped up that day or whatever the case may be. There has to be a fine line. And I feel, and I'm only speaking on my behalf. I've seen it in my own department. I feel it gets lost because guys want to be friends more than they want to be a company officer and actually lead. So guys are scared to make that, well, let's do this. And whoa, what are you doing? Herb? Well, no, I'm not Herb right now. I'm LT. I'm telling you to do this. And that's the one thing I can honestly say. Before I got promoted, I was with Greg when he got promoted to captain. Never once did I challenge him or use our friendship, because outside of here, Greg's my best friend in the world. I'd do anything in the world for the guy.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Listen, that's the only good plug I'm ever going to give you. But
Thanks.
I never used our friendship to advantage, because if he told me to do something, it was, all right, Cap, I got it. It's done. But I don't feel everyone does that accordingly.
I'll agree.
What's your take on that and being the senior man?
And I don't even think it should be coming from the senior man's point of view. I think it should be coming from a jump seat fireman's point of view. I think this is my humble opinion. It comes down to a couple things. It comes down to your ability to lead men, lead men and women. I don't care if you have bugles or not, because one day you're not going to have them trumpets. You're a fireman, and the next day you're in the officer seat because they handed you a trumpet and now you're a lieutenant. How did you distinguish yourself as a private, as a fireman? Were you a stand-up guy as a fireman and as a private? Because once you switch over to that seat, if you were a stand-up guy as a private and you were always in position and you knew your job and you ran training evolutions and you did stuff with your men, and I say men, but everybody knows what I mean. If you do stuff with your men, then when you get that trumpet on your shoulder, those men are going to give you the same respect that they gave you as a fireman. Now, if you're a fucking jerk off, or you're not real strong in your craft, or you're not a person that commands respect, and I'm not talking about being, this is me, I command, do your job and command respect. If you're not one of those people, then when you move over to that seat, you're going to be really hard on wanting to command respect, and nobody's going to give it to you because you've been a jerk off your whole career. So it starts in the firefighter rank. Carry yourself as a professional. And if you carry yourself as a professional, when you move to that next rank, you're not going to have to look to be a leader. You're going to be a leader. It starts grassroots. It starts when you're a fireman. Now, on the other side of that, maybe you do have a best friend in the station. Maybe you do have a best friend that rides your truck. If that fucking guy puts you in a position that you have to grab your collar and tell him, hey, look at this, he ain't your friend. He's not your friend. He's a job acquaintance, and he's putting you in a bad fucking spot. You need to realize that friendship and realize what it's about, because he's not a friend. If he puts you in a position where you could possibly have to, discipline somebody or drop the hammer, the guy ain't your friend. And Herbie talked about earlier, pet peeves. One of my biggest pet peeves is, I've had guys. I've been at my firehouse. I've been at that station for 18 years. I've worked at our training center, our Proby school. I've worked there. So I've seen guys come through, and I'm still a fireman. I've seen guys come through and rapidly go up the chain of command. And now they're captains. Some of them are chiefs. Maybe they're a lieutenant. Maybe I had them as a Proby. Maybe I taught them as a Proby. Maybe I taught, and I'll address them. Hey, Captain so-and-so. And the first things out of their fucking mouth is, don't call me that. I'm so-and-so. No, motherfucker, you worked for that. You earned it. And I'm going to address you as Captain so-and-so. There was a big rule at my station for a long time. We've got a little laxed on it, but that was one of my rules as a senior man, is we address the officers as the officers. When we're out of here, I call you whatever you want. But when we're in the firehouse on shift and we're on runs, it's Lieutenant, Captain, so-and-so. To me, if an officer, a brand new officer tells me, don't call me that, I know they're doing it because it's a friendship thing, but they're diminishing what they've earned. And right away, they're opening the door for people to take advantage of that. And it's a big thing with me. It may sound stupid to some people, but don't call me that is a big thing. I tell them, you earned it. What the fuck you mean, don't call you that? You went out and got it. Captain's position in the Miami Fire Department and chief's position is one of the hardest things to get. You studied your fucking ass off for it. If I address you as captain, it's out of respect of what you've done. And another thing for me is with the leadership thing, I look at it a little different. And I always say this, I don't have to respect the man, but I have to respect the rank. And whether I like you, whether I'm friends with you, whether I hate your guts, you give me an order, you tell me to do something, I have to respect the rank. I mean, I worked with a captain for a while. I pray, and I don't pray, but I prayed every day that he got into a wreck and died before he got to the station. I hated it.
Jesus Christ!
Holy shit!
He would give me an order, and I'd do it because he was the captain. I wouldn't address him, I wouldn't talk to him, but if he talked to me and gave me an order, I did it. We didn't respect the man; we respect the rank. So
True story.
There's a couple things, that the way I look at it, I don't believe that when they pin those bugles on your shoulder that it makes you an officer or a leader. It makes you another guy that was good on a test day. It's what you do in that position that makes you that leader. And we can go into 100 different things about that. I have regrets. I have regrets that I didn't promote. But I do okay. I think I've, through the years in the fire department and through USAR, I think I've carried myself in a good way. And I think there's some people that don't like me and there's some people that like me. So I think I'm doing okay. And I think I've commanded respect and I think I've given respect back. And that's the big thing. If you want respect, you got to give it back. And I've worked with friends. I work with Rob all the time. If I tell Rob to do something, he's not going to hesitate. He's going to do it. And if he does hesitate, he does give me a hard time. And the friend card, what I would do is I would pull him aside. I wouldn't address him in front of the troops. I would pull him aside and go, hey, man, what the fuck is going on with you? Why? What's the problem? And I think that's a way to get over it, But I think it all starts with you. How do you carry yourself? And
Absolutely.
Carry yourself with respect, and you command respect, and you're going to get it.
Well, I also think that has to do with knowing the job too, as far as knowing the position above you. Yeah.
When I say carry yourself with respect, you should know every bit of your job.
Absolutely. And
it drives
even
me
above
crazy when guys come through and they come through the station or they come through and I see them as firemen for a couple months. And the next thing I know, they're a lieutenant. And before I know it, they're a captain. And they haven't learned their job. And now within a flash, they're commanding a fire scene.
But as a good company officer too, you know who you can lean on. So if you walk in and I'm flexing my bugles to you, any senior man or guys that, off stations or guys that are just good in general, what they do, then I'm very insecure with myself. If I go in there and I say, hey man, I can lean on Timmy, I can lean on Rob, I can lean on Herb. These guys are solid characters here. They're going to make me look good today.
Absolutely.
It makes your job easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
100%. 100%.
But you get guys and gals that maybe they promote quickly, maybe not, but then they're all of a sudden they want to command respect and they want to be the boss, and they don't lean on those people, and they make the most fucking ridiculous calls that you'll ever see, and then it's time, then it's time from the other side. When you get back to the firehouse, those members need to go, hey boss, can we talk to you for a second? Can we close that door? Then you take your badge off and put it on the table, because now we're going to address you, on what you did. And I've been a part of something like that before. It's not an easy thing to do, but at some point you're wearing that badge. You're responsible for a lot, and
that's where the circle comes in, Herbie. You hate the circle, bro. That's what Danny Barron, man. I'm telling you, things effective.
But it also goes two ways, though. It's, you want to have those bugles, but in the same breath, you got to be okay with being held accountable for having those bugles. And a lot of times, and I'm sure the four of us can all vouch for it, there's certain individuals that get those bugles that automatically think that they're the best thing. They can walk on fucking water because they got bugles, and they don't want to be held accountable. Well, guess what? Just because you got bugles don't mean that you're fucking the smartest person there by any means. It just means that you scored really well that day on fucking test day.
Yeah, you were the best test taker that day.
That's it.
Yeah, but you start becoming a good officer the minute you figure out not being a new boy anymore. So when you get past that 1 year and you're like, you know what, I'm going to be a lieutenant. I like this guy here. He's good. That's the guy I want to be. That's the role I want to take. So you start heading that direction and you start molding yourself to be a company officer early in your career, whether you like it or not. And if you don't promote, you become the driver, a senior man, special ops guy, which are all effective positions. In my opinion, like they were saying.
You can promote as a firefighter. You can promote in that firefighter position.
Absolutely.
Every bit of that job.
And I think you run the firehouse as a senior man with the juice that you need to take, that no officer is going to challenge you.
Yeah, I mean, there's work you have to put in, and you
Of
have
course.
to be able to, in my mind, the senior man, it's not only buffering problems. It's you should be able to run a good drill exercise. You should be able to take a guy out to the truck and go through the whole truck and do a an engine checkout type thing.
Absolutely.
You should be the guy that is the roustabout for the station, the guy that's doing the drills, the guy that's watching over members, making sure that things are going right. If somebody insults one of your members, you're the first one in that guy's face going, hey, hold on a second, and you're the guy. And there's a lot of responsibility, and there's a lot of times where you're talking to the officers and the rest of the guys don't know, or you're talking to the guys and the officers don't know. So, it's an important position, but sometimes you'll get guys that they're the senior man just because they've been there for the longest amount of time, and they sit in the recliner all day, or they go to their room and you don't see them. So there's other types of senior man too. Like I said earlier, to me, all of this comes down to one thing: how do you carry yourself as a professional firefighter? What do you do? Are you a guy that hangs back at the runs? Are you a guy that holds a mop while everybody else is working just so you look busy? Are you a guy on a USAR deployment that is constantly going to the truck for equipment? We have those. And say, yeah, I'll be the guy that gets the equipment for you. It's how you carry yourself. Are you a guy that's always in the mix? Are you a guy that's running drills? Are you a guy that's talking about articles? Are you a guy that's listening to other departments on your phone? I'm a fucking hand job like that. I listen to other fire departments' calls all the time. Are you the guy in the station that's trying to get people to join clubs, join other boards on the department, join other teams on the department? Are you trying to always push your members to be a little bit better? Are you trying to push yourself to be better? That's how you do all of this. If you do that as a firefighter, I would imagine, I can't say that it works, but I would imagine you would move on and be a better officer for it. Don't run so fast. Don't run so fast to become an officer. Learn that truck. Learn to be a driver engineer. Then when you get on an engine as an officer, you know what that pump operator is doing.
And so you just said it perfectly. And Rob and Greg and I talked about it on a couple podcasts prior. Do not rush so quick to promote. Mm-hmm. Be good at being a fireman. Don't just promote to get the fucking pay raise and the bugles, because all the guys are going to see right through that. You want to be the officer that when you look at the roster and they say, oh, fuck, Rob Ramirez is here today. Fuck yeah. Like, we know if shit hits the fan, it's going to be a good fucking day. Like, he has our back and shit's going to go good.
I don't think they say that.
That's
right.
what that's my goal, to strive to be an officer. I did not go and become a driver. I waited to do a lieutenant's test because I wanted to get good at my craft first.
Well, our drivers weren't moving anywhere. So they had to change the way we did it because our drivers hit their spot and they're like, this is my jam. This is where I'm at. So it bottlenecked our promotional system.
And so guys are so quick to want to promote, to get a bugle, to get a pay raise, but they don't understand being a fireman.
Right.
And you can't do shit until you become a good fireman. And I'm not saying every officer is a good fireman, because we all know that that's not the case. There's individuals that slip through the cracks. But if you take it and truly understand that to be a good officer, you need to be a good fireman.
Amen, bro. That's the bottom line.
Be a good fireman first.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to tell, you know what, I'm ready to promote. And when whatever inside you tells you, you know what, I'm ready to promote, now you're okay to promote. But don't just sit there and say, you know what, I want to be a lieutenant because I'm eligible to take that test, or I'm eligible to sit for a captain's test. Well, guess what? You're probably not ready. You are probably not ready to fucking do that test. And the fact of the matter is, this generation, and it's probably happened generations way before me, guys are so quick and so eager to want to get that bugle to promote, but they never took the time to invest in themselves, to learn the fucking job, to be good firemen. Because if you're a good fireman and you understand the job, it's only going to make you that better of an officer.
I believe that.
Down.
Yeah, I believe that. It all starts with you and how you go about being a fireman. You know.
Absolutely.
Pride. Listen, pride. Pride. We've talked about this constantly. Respect is earned, not given. You have to be a good fireman to be a good company officer. Timmy's talking about the jump seat fireman. You got to be a solid jump seat fireman to become a solid officer. During those years where you're learning your craft, and like Herbie just said, becoming that solid jump seat fireman, the other firemen you're growing up with are watching, and they understand that. So that when you do make that leap to company officer and get your first bugle or trumpet, it's just the next step in your career. It's a seamless transition. You don't become a good company officer without being a good jump seat fireman first. It does not add. 2 + 2 is always going to be 4.
And, you know,
unless you use core math.
I will say this. I like the way the USAR program works as far as promotion. I'll put it that way. We don't have a set guideline that we have to follow, and basically, you are the best person. When you get promoted, you're the best person out of the pool that gets that spot. Are there other eligible people for that spot? Absolutely, but we 100% try to put the best candidate. What has he done? What time has he put in? What deployments has he been on, or him or her been on? What does he do when they get there? Is he a worker? Is he a standback person? Does he get in there? Is he first to get in? Is he, what does he do? We watch, and we come together as a group, the command staff, and we come together and we select. And we do that every January. We select, and it's an all-out brawl in there sometimes, because there are many people that are suited for the work, but we don't test, we don't do anything like that. We do a lot of training throughout the year, as you guys know. We watch, and when we get on deployments, we watch who are the leaders, who are the guys that keep popping up, and that's how we do the promotions. And I think you see it's pretty effective. We don't care if you're a fireman. Look, I'm a fireman. I'm in a rescue team manager spot. The only spot that you can't hold pretty much as a fireman is a task force leader. We had, for a long time, we had a fireman that was the program manager. He ran the whole thing. So if you command respect, you do your job, you know your job, you can answer any fucking question on the fly about your job, you can perform in that position, you can probably perform in the position above you, then you're the best fucking guy for the spot. And it's going to be no issue. You're not going to go to that next spot and you're not going to have a guy going, you believe this fucking guy? He's a fucking this. They're going to go, oh man, finally they promoted him. He deserved it.
Yep. So the guys
Be
listening.
in position. That's all I keep saying it.
Be in position.
Be in position. Do your job. Know your job. And when that promotion comes, you won't have to deal with the friendship issues. I mean, you may, but you'll know how to handle them because you're a better leader and you're a better it'll make you a better officer. If you're, I keep saying a jerk off, but I think everybody listening knows what I mean. If you're kind of just a lackluster guy and you just kind of go with the flow, when you come
Good guy,
up to
hard
problems,
worker.
when you come to problems as an officer, you're gonna probably have problems yourself solving those problems. Problems are gonna make problems, and you're not gonna be a very effective officer. And the guys are gonna take advantage of it. I'll tell you right now, guys are gonna take advantage of you left and right. They're gonna use you like a dime store whore, and you're not gonna know what to do.
Here we go. You
asked me my opinion.
I know. I was kind of afraid of it actually, but now I love it. Hey, so let's digress a little bit. I mean, we hit you up with a senior man and we beat you up a little bit on that. And you know, I know that's a vital role in the firehouse. So I'm gonna go back a little bit to just like a call that you went to a few years ago. You were on a rope rescue with your crew, made national news. It was a legit call, and you were, we like to call the dope on the rope, but you were the rescuer on that. So play that back real quick in our head, like how you were picked to be the rescuer since you were pretty senior in the house, and how did it play out, like, you know, on a rope? Because not a lot of people really talk about being the actual rescuer on the rope going down. I think it was a scaffolding. Am I right?
Yeah, it was scaffolding that failed.
Okay. Hit us up with that real quick.
How I was picked for the rescuer, kind of, there's a lot of different ways you can look at it. That day that happened, it wasn't our regular crew. It was kind of a pickup, like a pickup football. It was like a pickup crew. We had guys from other shifts, and in my department, we have to have 8 fully assigned TRT members to put the TRT team into service every day. And at that time, if you had TRT certs, but you were at another station and we only had 6 guys, we'd swing you over to that station to be a TRT member that day. So we even had some of that going on. So we really didn't have our normal crew that we work with. That, you know, we had some, but we didn't have a lot. And there was just a lot of things in the mix. Our normal officers weren't there, and there was just a bunch of stuff going on. So when we showed up, we started looking around to find the guy. And when we found him, when we saw the way that it was, I turned to a couple of the guys, and the officer was there. And I said, listen, I'm going to go over this, and let's consider doing this. And we had another member there who at the time had just become our technical rescue coordinator. And he assisted with getting things into play. The one good thing that we have on my team, and we have it in USAR also, is whatever the rescuer asks for, don't second guess them. Just send it to them. And even that's, you know, in confined space, we teach that. In trench, we teach that. Listen, I don't care if the guy wants a chainsaw, send it to him. You know, we'll find it and send it to him. And when I got over and got down the line and realized what I had, the guy was hanging from like a boat rope that they had bought on his harness. And he did have a harness on, but he was hanging from like a boat rope because the scaffolding failed. The guy was about 320 pounds. Back then, I'm a little heavier now. Back then, I was about 150 pounds. And I said, there's no way I'm going to be able to handle this guy. And he was getting to the point where he was getting tired and he was losing his fight. You know, you could see him. He was, you know, he had probably was suffering from all kinds of different things from hanging in that harness for as long as he did. So I got on the radio and I called up to the guy that was running the edge, the lieutenant that is the TRT coordinator that I'm talking about. And I told him, I said, I need for you to get a guy on another line and send him down. He's not gonna do anything but help me with the pickoff. And we did it. And then he helped me get the guy over the scaffolding because we had to negotiate the scaffolding too because of the way that it was. And he was tangled in the rope and there was just a bunch of shit going on. So I kind of realized that I was going to need help. So I asked for another rescuer or another guy to come down on the line. We didn't call him a rescuer because he really didn't get involved, only with scaffolding management and some rope management. So, and that's the way we did it. And it worked great. And everybody just kind of fell into their positions. In hindsight, I've been given a little bit of a hard time about it because there's people that think somebody else should have went over, and as the senior technical rescue guy, I should have watched over everything and kind of helped out on the command side. But it was just my day, and the fact that it made national news, I hope I'm thinking that it was just a slow news day, but it was a great feeling, and the guys performed great, and the guy made it, and he got down, and we got him down, and he went to the hospital, and the next day we met him and gave him some t-shirts and stuff, and it was pretty cool. But it just kind of happened, and
it looked flawless. I mean, Herbie and I, we follow this across the country. You know what I mean? That's what we do. That's our gig. Yeah. And looking at that one, I mean, I'm sure there was hiccups here and there with little things.
There was, but it got posted on Facebook, and there were people saying, well, why are they using 2 rescuers, or why didn't they use this for the pickoff? And why? Listen, you can skin the cat 100 different ways, and I don't take offense to it. But the other thing we should not do in the fire service, and we all fall into it, we bash each other. And to me, I don't give a shit. I mean, there are standards that we have to train to, but to me, a rescue that is affected and the person gets down, and we do it well, and we do it quickly, and maybe we use the chainsaw, as long as the person's safe at the end of the day and we met the standard, I'm fine with it. And I think that's what we had in that incident. I called for the second line, and that's not a normal practice on a standard scaffolding pickoff, but it is what it is, and it worked well,
So I like that you said that, because as a special ops captain, talking to my crew and everything, I'm huge with putting 2 people down. And if I can put 3 down, I will, if they need it, because that doesn't look like it's an overloaded rescuer. Why tax the rescuer if you have a rigging team, you have anchors, you have everything you need, and you've practiced on putting 1, 2, or 3 guys over the side to make life easier with a nice retrieval system or lower them to the ground, blah, blah, blah. I'm a huge proponent of that. Yeah. So that's why I brought that up, because I really like that you guys put 2 down. Yeah. And it worked. It was flawless.
I'm not saying, understand the statement, I'm not saying that I'm the best that there was that day, but to me, my opinion, when you're dealing with somebody's lives in your hands, it should be the most the most qualified rescuer that's making that grab. In my opinion, that's the guy that should be picked for, or girl that should be picked for that spot. Sometimes we put junior guys on it. We let them fly the crane, fly with the victim on the crane. Maybe that's not the best way to do it. Maybe we should rotate people. I don't know, but at some point you look, and when you see it and it looks like a hairy rescue, it should be your most qualified person.
I couldn't agree more.
I've had arguments that says no, the most qualified person should be on the rigging. I don't know. In my opinion, it should be the guy making the grab.
Yeah, and so not to go into it crazy, but Herb and I talked about this years ago. We started going to these rope classes, and we started doing rope ops and rope tech and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And these guys were going over. And I remember when I was taught, is like, okay, this rigging is the most important thing. Hey, you're the rescuer, throw that harness on and jump over the side. Yeah. So as National Rescue, and this was a little bit arguing with Herbie, but he bought in fairly quick, and he saw there was a need for it. So when we go teach rope classes, we literally take a good hour or 2, and we put someone on rope 6-8 feet up in the air, and we have them transition to another line, figure out a system, and they got to use a couple different ways to go up and down the rope and transfer. The comfort level that they build at 8 feet, and they got to do it at 30, 40, 70 feet off the ground. Yeah. It's a no-brainer. Yeah. It's an absolute no. We've seen the data on this, and it works every time.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, my heart rate had to be 170. while I was hanging there, and the wind was
You-
fucking blowing like 30 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's right.
I was scared shitless. I'll be
Wow.
honest. And I've flown cranes. I've done, I know we don't use the word scared in the fire service, but I was like, oh, this is the fucking big one.
That's the real deal. Yeah, that was good, man. You're lucky I couldn't find that because I was going to play a little video clip of the little skinny jeans and tight harness you were wearing.
Yeah, man, oh man, it was tight. But, it all worked out. And I'm not a big proponent of this is the way we always have to do it, or this is the way you should do it. Listen, I don't know. When you're there, it's going to be different than the way it's going to be in teaching. And, I think we go over the same scenarios teaching a lot of times, and it gets stagnant because the scenario is not going to be that. And I'm big on letting the person that's doing the rescue decide what the fuck they need to do, and call it back up. And you should be confident as an officer to be able to go, this is what he needs. This is what he's asking for. This is what we got to do. And the other thing I hate, and you hit it on the head, and we fall victim to it on my team a lot, is the smallest, lightest guys on the rope, or the smallest, lightest guys in the hole, or, no, man. Some days, let's put the big guy in. Let's put the big guy on the rope. Let's put the big guy in the hole, because he may have to work in that role one day. If we constantly send the same person as the rescuer all the time, when they get a real technical rescue gig, they're going to expect to go over, and maybe I need them to shore. Maybe I need them to use a tool to cut through something, but they're only going to be good at being a rescuer. They got to rotate the positions.
Rob, he looked at you when he said the big guy. Did you notice that?
I've seen Rob squeeze into a hole before.
I'm okay with the holes. It's the rope part. I don't want to be at the end of the rope. I got no business at the end of the rope.
What about Swiftwater, Rob?
He's like Joe Bartlett. Rope is the enemy. Joe Bartlett rope is the enemy.
What about Swiftwater, Rob? Enemy. You're pretty good.
I am rope wise because I am rope poor. No, I am not. I'm also not a swimmer. I'm a floater.
I agree with you on that one, Rob.
No.
Hey, so you, Rob, you got anything else for Timmy or what?
No, Timmy. I got nothing else for you. Just want to make sure that you covered everything that you wanted to cover coming on here today. I want to make sure that we don't leave any stones unturned. This is your platform, your soapbox. I want to make sure that any subjects you wanted to cover, get off your chest, get out to the world from the mind of Timmy Gleason. Please go ahead and feel free to. If we covered everything, then God bless, bro. It's been a blast.
The mind of Timmy Gleason is a very scary place, and I'm not sure that all the world is ready to see it or hear it. So
I'll second that.
Listen, you guys asking me to be on this podcast, I appreciate it, and it was big for me, and I thank you. I told Rob earlier, this is a big thing for me. I don't normally do things like this. Speaking is a little rough for me. I try to just stay in the shadows, but when I do have to speak, I will. I appreciate the fact that you guys let me come on and talk. I hope that it didn't get too dark for the listeners.
Not at all, dude.
If we help one person through all this, then I think it's a great thing.
It's so
what I'd like to do, I guess I can eat. I don't know how to do it. I should have been more prepared, but if you've got members in your department or members that are listening that are troubled or feeling a hard time, you can contact me. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook.
Hey, so Timmy, let's do this. Right now at our surge, right now we've had 1,392 people listening to you talk across all the platforms.
It's great.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put your information out when we post the video and everything else.
Okay.
And I want the people that are listening to understand that, hey, you want to reach out to Greg Rogers, Rob Ramirez, myself, reach out to us. We're all for it.
Yeah, communication is key, man.
But if you're at a place that you feel that no one's willing to listen to or whatever, the three of us might not be the best person. And Timmy Gleason, he's been there. He's been in that spot. Reach out to him. I'm going to put out all Timmy's information as long as he tells me it's fine. reach out to him. He's going to be the guy who literally wants to help you because he's been there. And if you haven't been there, it's going to be hard for someone to truly understand what it is.
It's tough.
So, Timmy, if you're cool with it, I'm going to put your contact information out.
That's fine.
And I guarantee you there's going to be people that reach out to you.
That's fine.
I guarantee that you've touched people more than you even know right now.
They can also listen. Also, I'll give them a plug. They can also find Never Walk Alone on social media platforms, on Facebook and on Instagram. That's also a reference for them if they need, obviously are feeling bad or whatever's going on. They can reach out through there as well.
So I'm looking at 12 text messages right now on my phone with guys that literally have just said, I'm looking at it right now. He's hit a spot that I've wanted to explain, but I've never had anyone to say it to. So more than USAR talk, more than fire talk, I feel that we've done a positive thing tonight with the four of us talking.
Great. That makes me feel really good.
Well, and let me add to that too, that so being on Florida too, I feel that City of Miami is my second home. City of Miami Fire Department. Those guys have taken me under their wing, guys that probably could just blow me off. I'm nobody off to the side, and they've done a good thing. So the camaraderie that you guys have down there, and I'm not talking just USAR, I'm talking fire department, people that come by, is bar none some of the best that I can actually say that I've seen. And I've been all over the country. I haven't been in that type of venue all the time, but I can say that the City of Miami does it right. So the Never Walk Alone program, if you guys and girls, and now that Chief Diaz is basically the one kind of heading that, I know that now, is if you guys do that as good as you do everything else, I'm telling you, man, that's a game changer. It's an absolute game changer. And to ride the coattails of being on the USAR team and kind of being, a little bit of the family of the City of Miami, if there's anything that I could do to help with that, I would be honored to go about that. Because now I feel it's kind of like my duty. You know what I mean? A little bit. And that I don't even know. That's really all I can say. I don't really know how to put the words in, but I really do appreciate that. And then if you guys, like I said, could team up with like Hook a Hero and then get with NRC.
Yeah.
We run South Florida and we try to make it as good, and then let the nation see what we're doing to make it better.
Yeah.
Like you said, one guy, that's all we need. One guy, and it works. We're good.
Yeah, absolutely. If we help one person says, "Hey, listen, this helped me. I'm going to ask for help," or, "Hey, I'm not going to jump off this roof," or whatever it is, then we've hit a fucking home run, man. And that's what I strive for. That's what I strive for. When I tell my story, I just kind of want to be able to help somebody and and try to make a difference. That's what I said that a couple times tonight, and that's what I believe. And listen, maybe it's not for everybody, my story. Maybe it takes up some time, but for somebody out there listening, it may have helped. And that's why I do it. And that's why I don't hold back and I tell everything. Because
I appreciate your story, man.
I think people need to know everything,
Yeah. Thank you for telling
Unfortunately, I don't know how to stop it, but this is becoming a huge epidemic in the fire department and first responders is suicide. And it's getting us as much as cancer,
I think you have done more in the last 3 hours just letting your story be known than you'll ever know, because it takes one person to actually put that story out, to let someone know that it's okay to talk about their feelings. and know that it's okay to talk about it. With that being said, man, Rob told me today that you're going to jump in on the NRC Firefighter Advanced Rescue and Survival School with Greg, Rob, and you. We're going to do it at Indian River Fire College, January.
Yeah, I'd be honored to help.
So we're doing it January 6th, 7th, and 8th. The Treasure Coast Fools on the 8th are actually going to do a Brotherhood Bash after the event. So that in itself is going to be a huge event. We're looking forward to it.
Hey, Herbie, too, not to cut you off. Go into the Treasure Coast Fools real quick of how, I mean, these guys didn't even balk. They didn't even hesitate when we said, hey, man, this is what we want to do. Yeah. We want to bring some fire shit in. Before Herbie could finish saying what he was saying, they were like, I'm in. We're paying for it. Where do we go? That is what we're talking about, man.
So pretty much everyone that's listening to NRC, everyone knows how NRC operates. We're here to give out quality information, give out real world experience to the guys. So myself and Greg, we were at a meeting at Indian River. Okay. Some of the Treasure Coast Fools were there. And we said that we're going to put together the NRC Firefighter Advanced Rescue and Survival School. I couldn't even get it out. The Fools go, the Treasure Coast Fools go, what can we do to help? We told them we're doing it the 6th, 7th, and 8th. They go, okay, the 8th, we're handling the Brotherhood Bash. We're taking care of it. The fact that this morning Rob fucking told me that he goes, hey, Timmy Gleason's in 100%. That's huge. You and I talked today as well. We got some stuff on the horizons with Man vs. Machine and a bunch of stuff that's going to come down the pipeline. It's going to be a huge ordeal.
Yeah, it's going to be positive as hell.
It's when Greg and I created NRC and we started this with one thing and one thing only. We're not getting rich doing this at all. I promise you.
You didn't say that in the beginning, dude.
True story. The reality is that we want to give quality information out to the guys. So guys like yourself, Rob, Greg, myself, guys who have real world experience that can give it to other individuals and leave this place better than what we found it. That's what it's all about. And I'm going to speak on behalf of Greg. It is truly an honor to have Rob as part of the NRC team, you as part of the NRC team. This is brotherhood beyond brotherhood, giving back to the fire service, which has done so much for the four of us. Now it's our turn to give back to them. So, like I said, January 6th, 7th, and 8th, we're going to do the Firefighter Advanced Rescue and Survival School at Indian River Fire College. On the 8th, Treasure Coast Fools has stepped up. They're handling everything. You're going to see a lot of training happening in the Treasure Coast area at Indian River Fire College. NRC is doing all the training there now. It's huge, man. It's
well,
I don't care.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you said that you're putting out training from guys that have the real world experience. Look around the nation, and you may get some flack for me saying this, but look around the nation and how many guys are teaching impalement that have never run an impalement call before. They're teaching it because they read it out of a book. How many guys are teaching firefighter survival when they've never crawled down a hallway, dark hallway.
Yep.
It's happening. And it's happening a lot in the fire service. When you have instructors that actually have done what they're teaching, they've gone on those runs, they've done what they're teaching, they're going to make the company credible, and they're going to make the person that's taken the class a whole lot credible than getting information from a book. So I think you hit the nail on the head. You're getting a cadre of instructors that have actually done the work, and that's important, you know.
No, it's I talked to Rob this morning in length. I talked to Greg this morning in length, man. It's truly a pleasure that you even remotely said, hey, you know what? I'm in. I want to come do stuff with NRC. That's huge for me.
Absolutely.
That's huge for Greg. That's huge for Rob.
Huge for me too, man. Thank you.
It's so myself, Greg, when we started this, and then we bring Rob in, and now we're bringing Timmy Gleason in. This is all about giving back to the brotherhood, and that's the sole mission of what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
it's there is no egos,
no,
because Timmy Gleason is very fortunate to run the amount of calls that he's run with the department that he's at. Rob Ramirez is very fortunate with the opportunities that he's been given. Greg, myself, the same thing. If we can give back to everybody else, that's all this is about. And it's all about the brotherhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we have a cadre of instructors too that these young guys, I mean, they're good, you know, and I'm like, you know, you're looking at it like, oh man, that was pretty good. And I turn and I look at my book or some app or some photo or some show. I'm like, holy shit, dude, where did he learn that?
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, these guys are money.
You got some really good instructors. And that's, you know, that's one of the reasons why I agreed to come on board is, you know, you got a group of young guys that are eager to learn. You got a group of young guys that are working for busy departments. They're on USAR teams. They're doing the work. If they're not on those teams, they're doing the work. They're coming to a place where they can get tools. They're coming to a place where they can get rebar, and they're setting things up, and they're cutting, and they're torching, and they're doing the things on their own time. Yanni Gonzalez comes to mind. He put together a whole thing. He's not assigned to the technical rescue team. He put a whole thing together for the technical rescue team on his own time.
I've taught with Yandy numerous times, man. The guy is good. He is good.
He's good.
And there's a handful of other guys, you know, Jason Rodriguez, you know, all these cats are, and like, we're proud to have them on our team. You know what I mean? As far as teaching, and then we work with them, and it's just one big community that it's like, all right, we're good now. So we need to kind of keep pushing.
Yeah.
So we'll talk off the air, but just to give a little sample of everyone that we're working on a 24-hour exercise that is going to be cutting edge, and it's going to be people that know the game are going to be there, and people are going to want to be there.
Yeah.
So
sleep deprivation makes a big difference. Trust me.
So, true story.
Yeah,
true story, my friend.
And so, one last thing I'll leave with, and you know, then I'll shut up, is I don't have much longer in the game. You know, I'm probably going to do 4 or 5 more years, and then I'm done. So I want to be able to give everything that I've been given. I want to give back, and I try to do that with the fellas and the ladies at my firehouse. And you know, being a part of you guys, it will help me. I want to be able to give everything I got, as far as the fire department. And I'll give the good, and I'll talk about the bad. You know,
dude, you're stuck with me for at least another 20.
Yeah, and I don't think
you're stuck with me, bro.
I don't think NRC is going anywhere the way it's looking. We're only growing, but if it does slow down, I think we need a human resources department if you're interested.
Yeah, okay.
I heard he's good with computers. We'll put him in IT.
Yeah, that might get you in trouble.
Hey, so Timmy, man, on behalf of NRC, myself, Greg, and Rob, man, we truly appreciate you coming on and sharing all your stories with us.
Thank you, man.
It's
I'll do it again. I love
you. Yeah, we love you, bro.
But I'll be more prepared with
let's plan on doing it here shortly, dude.
Anytime.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Timmy.
brother.
Say hi to Marianne. Say hi to Marianne for us.
Yeah, say hi to Mama Gleason, dude. We're coming down for the.
He's
We're
in
coming
bed
down
right
for
now.
the. Oh, I'm sorry.
She's in,
Fire up that shepherd's pie, though.
She'll do it, man. She'll do it. She's a warrior. My mom's a warrior, man.
Hey,
All
man,
right.
we love you, man. Thank you very much, bro.
Thank you,
Hey,
guys.
love you, brother. We'll see you soon.
Okay, see ya.
Yeah, hang tight for a second.
Hey,
Yeah, you cut him off. Oh, that's cool.
hey,
we're still
so
live.
we're still live, fellas. Hey, so this is the quick plug. January 6th, 7th, and 8th, Indian River Fire College, the NRC Firefighter Advanced Rescue and Survival School. It's already halfway sold out. It's going to be 3 days of ball busting work
Pertinent information.
by your own truly Rob Ramirez, Greg Rogers, Timmy Gleason, many others. It's going to be one hell of an experience that you want to be there for. Treasure Coast Fools is putting on the Brotherhood Bash on the 8th. And then also we're doing driver engineer courses there. We're doing VMR classes at Indian River. A bunch of classes at Indian River Fire College for the Treasure Coast. So we look forward for all you guys coming there. We look forward to seeing you guys out there, getting the training out there. And we appreciate you guys honestly building this to something that myself, Greg, and Rob never thought was going to happen. This has been truly amazing. I can speak for myself and Greg and Rob. We never once thought that this was going to take off the way it did. This has been something amazing. We started this podcast during the Corona times, and Rob jumped in, and literally it turned into the three of us.
Three amigos.
It is we appreciate the feedback from you guys because you guys have given us just the fuel to keep it going. It's been awesome. What do you got, Greg?
Yeah. No, I like yeah, it's been I've been getting text messages from guys that I haven't talked to in a while, guys and girls I haven't talked to in a while, and they're just like the positive feedback is just amazing, man, to where, you know, they're like, keep up the good work. This is what we needed. We can't wait to see it. And I actually get excited to do a podcast because this is out of our comfort zone. This is out of our element a little bit. So it's like, all right, what's going to happen? What do we need to do? What are we going to ask? And then we start talking about it and you start seeing like true colors. And then when you see all the feedback come in with everything that we're doing, it's like, all right, something's working, you know, you don't have the mutts, you know, that don't do anything. They do their 9 to 5 and that's it. You don't have the little rats that go rat on everybody at the fire stations and all that to try to move themselves forward. You got the true fire service personnel that want to do better and be a part of something. And that's what I appreciate the most.
What about you there, Rob?
Same thing, boys. I'm running low on battery here, so I echo it. I am thankful for the opportunity. I'm thankful for the people that are watching. The feedback we're getting is amazing, and I look forward to do many, many more of this. This has been the most rewarding thing I've done in many, many years, man. And get to hang out with you guys and talk shop has been a blessing. And in the same time, we're helping people out there, and people are reaching out to us, and we're learning from each other. It's been a blast. I look forward to many more of these, and again, grateful for the opportunity. Look forward to seeing everyone at Indian River College for the Advanced Rescue and Survival School. It's going to be a good time.
All right. Well, folks, this is Train to Live podcast number 5. We appreciate all you guys tuning in. Let's give a shout out to the sponsors. We got TNT Rescue Tools. the only tools for extrication that NRC uses. Nozzleman Leather Company, Breach Point USAR, First Do Screen Printing, and Kong USA. By far the best in the game. Check out the sponsors. Tell them that we sent you. They'll give you a discount on everything that you're purchasing. And once again, man, we can't thank you guys enough. We appreciate you guys supporting the podcast. Until next time.